Well. Good afternoon. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice or watching me go from spot to spot, I have usual 4 screens: an iPad, my phone, the main screen in front of me, and a laptop to my right where I watch all the YouTube comments, make sure that I'm here, everyone's watching, that I'm listening to, and that I'm interacting with them. And so I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and I am your host on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 1 to 4 p.m. So listen, hi, Romel Harris from Chicago, Illinois. That's so cool. Thank you for joining us today. It's always nice to see that there are people listening to the radio station outside of Philadelphia. It's good to know, which is why I love to carry things that are going on around the country and the world. It's been very difficult recently because so much is going on in Philadelphia, as I'm sure there are lots of things going on in Chicago. So, Romel, tell everybody what's going on in Chicago in terms of the heat, what's happening in terms of crime in the urban areas, if it's still horrible, like it's bad in Philadelphia. It is. We just keep talking about it over and again. Today, my WURD listeners, if you want to call in 215-635-8075, I can't even remember what the number is, 215-8, I can't even, the number just went right out my head. The call-in number just went right out my head. It's 215-634-8065. Blame it on the menopause. So I have one guest on at 2 o'clock. I have another guest on at 3:30. So my WURD listeners, sometimes I think Tuesday was a little difficult for you all to call in because I had so much going on and a bunch of guests lined up. Today I have more free time, more free space to talk to you. But there are a couple things that Marvel would like to discuss. The first thing is I interviewed a young lady by the name of Lisa Cyrus on Tuesday about the fact that her and 14 of her tenants in an apartment building on Star Road in Elkins Park were displaced because the owner, there's structural damage. And some of the news, local news here in Philadelphia carried it. The fire department, the fire marshal said to the owner that you have to fix the damage, and in the meantime, you have to make sure that you find some place to put your displaced tenants. And his words were, not doing it. I called him, the owner. He answered the phone when I told him, because I had to be upfront and say, this is who I am, this is why I'm calling you. He hung up on me. I did go visit the apartment complex, and I had a few people go and visit the meeting that night because I had some conflicting things going on. So in the meantime, I got a couple of text messages from people asking me to call certain places so that we can get some legal help for these folks. I've called the places. I've not had any responses yet from those places, but I'm doing the best that I can to support them. If you know anyone that can support these folks, there's 14 of them. One father is living in his car with his daughter. Another father has gone into a homeless shelter with his child so he can get into housing. Lisa herself, when I spoke to her on Tuesday, has now come to over $2,000 out of her pocket to pay for extended stays in different places, and she's not staying in fancy hotels. You do realize that a hotel a day it's upwards of $100 a day, right, depending on where you are. So these are the kinds of things that are happening. So if you have any idea on what we can do to help, thank you, Viola. See, this is why I love Viola. Viola was like, the number is 215-634. Thank you, Viola. I drew a complete blank. And Romel says, crime is on the rise in the black community. You're absolutely right. It is not fun for us anywhere that we are, and we've been having some conversations. Yesterday, I had a meeting with, a conversation with Sheriff Rochelle Bilal, who is a really cool human being. See, it only takes me 10 seconds to start talking to someone to know that they either care about their community or they don't. And Sheriff Bilal was really good. She laid out as she saw things were going on. She understood because she's been around. She's a president of the Guardian Civic League. She has been a police officer, and so she sees, what's going on in the city, and she gave us some solutions. Besides Sheriff Bilal, for the first time in my history of interviewing anybody, I had Prince on. You know, regular caller Prince, he was on the show with me. And he also had some great, Melvin Prince Jonakin is his name. He's a business entrepreneur, and he too had some great discussions around what the solutions are. Now, it was so interesting to me because Prince and Sheriff Bilal didn't always agree, but they were so amicable in their disagreement that they found common ground. And what struck me in that conversation that I had with them was this: we can do anything if we can come together and figure out what to do to help people. So one of the things we talked about was the land bank that's around here in Philadelphia, giving people, paying people what they're absolutely worth. You know, it was such a good conversation that I'm getting ready to follow up on that dialogue to see how we can take some of those solutions that we had come up with in our conversations to help the people of this city. Because I'm telling you, I don't have the energy. My voice just can't, we just can't keep talking and talking and talking and nothing comes out of it. Maurice, I see you. Hold on one second. The second thing that I want to talk to you about quickly, because I have time today, is that I was doing something, running an errand up in the Northeast by Lawndale, you know, over there by Godfrey Avenue, and I happened to make a left turn on this street called Newtown Avenue between Tookanny Creek and Godfrey Avenue. And y'all, go on my Facebook page. I made it public so you can see. Look up Andrea Lawful Sanders. You will see the devastation. The road was so filled with debris and junk and gunk that I could barely get my car through there without puncturing one of my tires, right? And so I did a whole video around that, and from what I am finding out, which is why I love the people in this city, once I put it up, they were like, look, the city has cleaned it over and over and over again, and there are people dumping. What made me turn around and go back was because when I came up the first time, I saw a contractor pulling off after dumping a whole bunch of stuff out of his pickup truck. I couldn't get the license plate because he was moving too quickly when he heard someone coming behind him, which was me. So I turned around and came back and did a video of the place. So here's my suggestion. You know, Diva, you don't have to take it, but there's a lot of bush shrubbery in that area. So we want to put some spotlights in there so that people can see, cut the bushes down, and put some cameras there so we can start tracking those license plates of the people that are going through there deliberately dumping stuff from out of homes, mattresses, furniture. Oh, it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible to take a look at. And so I'm hoping that in talking about it, the city will come back and clean it again, but then as residents, we will start to pay attention to who's doing the dumping, write their license plates down. I tried to do that today and was not able to. And that we can have some cameras back there and cut those bushes down, because there's a lot of people that are trying to come through there, and it's really bad. Right as you get to the end of it, there's a whole street where people are living, a VFW post, you know, homes that are right there. So when that kind of trash sits there consistently, what that means, what that says to me is that mice, roaches, not even mice, rats, right? Because all sorts of things are being dumped there. So we can talk about that. Maurice, how are you, darling?
How you doing?
You know, Maurice, I'm telling you, I'm in a good space today. How you doing, darling?
I'm doing okay. I went on an expedition this morning.
Where'd you go?
I went to City Hall.
What did you find, Maurice?
I want to find out who gave them white boys a permit to march in the middle of the night with our tax dollars.
Did you get an answer?
Of course I didn't.
You know what I find so interesting, Maurice? I have called City Hall several times, and what I'm getting ready to start doing is start naming the names of the people that I've called, because you call and they just don't respond to your call. It is the most unseemly thing I've ever seen in my life.
Or they hang up on you.
Or they hang out, yeah, because my husband has had some issues with them too. If you're supposed to be serving the people of this city, why are you not answering our calls? Why are you not returning our calls when we call you, right? So you can give us some answers. This is.
Well, what you need to do is, I found out what George always says. You go to the boss, you ask, when you soon you walk in the door, you ask for the supervisor, and that's what I do now. I ask for the supervisor, and then this dummy comes out, and he has no answers either. They act like it was a big surprise, but how is it a big surprise when they got a police escort?
Right, and and interestingly, I talked to someone.
So
too
I
who
think you
said,
need to have the police commissioner on again and ask her these questions.
Yeah, but police commissioner is not the one that gives out the permits, right?
No, she doesn't give out the permits, but who's co-signing for this overtime? As soon as she's seen that or cross her desk, she's like, "What is this? What are you doing?"
Right,
Not only that, you should have the managing director who is black.
Right.
See if he's still black and he's not like Larry Elder and come on your show and tell you what's going on. You know I'm a friend of Larry Elder's. You know that, right?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, me and him is buds, and he told me secretly that if he could get a razor blade and cut that black skin off, he would, but he can't. So he's just going to have to deal with that for life. But what I'm saying is, we got to start getting answers for stuff that just go over our head.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? A lot of things go over people's head, and that's what I try to bring up. I don't bring up the obvious, because the obvious is right there in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way, I found out the answer. It came to me. I became Negro Damas overnight and figured out how to stop the crime.
Yeah. And
what we need to do is, cops can't do it, city officials can't do it.
Right.
The only one that can do it is us. We know who the murderers are in our neighborhood.
I said the same
we know
thing.
are the ones that got the guns. Now, I keep giving out this snitch line. I don't know if anybody's calling, but you don't have to give your name. You don't have to give your address. They're not looking up who called. All you got to do is drop a dime once in a while, and the number is 215-686-8477.
8477.
Yep. All you got to do is call that number, give them. They're waiting on the line because I talk to the operator. I talk to her every night. She gets tired of me calling. I asked her, "Did you get any good snitches?" She said no, and I told her why. I said because your police commissioner doesn't say the number, or did Larry Krasner say the number?
So what I'm going to do is make sure that every day the informant line is 215-686. What is it called? The tip line, right?
Right.
8477 when you see crime.
Most people can't figure that out on their phone because most people don't know their own phone number on their cell phone.
Well,
they got to look it up.
Listen, we got to try. We got to try, right?
No, that's why I'm giving out the full number instead of saying tip line. It sounds cute, but when somebody gets home and they really see something, do you think they're going to figure that out in their head? What is tip?
Well, that's what I'm saying, so they can write it down somewhere, put it in their phone, right? Put it in their phone.
But what I'm saying is, I know who was driving that truck, if you want to know, that dumped that trash.
Oh, Lord. How would you know that, Maurice?
I just know it was Mayor Kenny driving that truck.
Leave Mayor Kenny alone. Leave Mayor Kenny alone, Maurice.
He said stinky Philadelphia. That's what he did. Because, since he doesn't have to run again, he doesn't have to worry about anything.
Yeah, but we have to, there has to be another way. You know what I'm saying,
Maurice?
Maurice?
Do is pick another candidate now. I keep telling people.
They're doing it,
wait.
Maurice.
No, they're not.
Yes,
that
they are, Maurice.
That person's got to be out in the public now, and you might get some council people to do a little something because they want to be in favor with the next mayor. You can't keep it a secret. We got to put somebody out there because what we going to get, Anthony Williams running again?
Well, there's some pieces that have to be put into place, some protocols that have to be followed to see where support can be had, and if support is not being had, then there are other ways to work around this. Just trust me on this, Maurice.
Who are we running against? Just think about it. It's not going to be a Republican. We already know that. But what I'm trying to say is, out of the Democratic Party, if you ask questions, who you want to vote, you get a different answer from every. It can't be anybody from city council. That's out. The only one that I think that would do the right thing, he already has a job. He's the DA.
Right. Mm-hmm.
He's the only one that's actually doing something for black people. And that's a shame that a white man has to be the only one doing something for black people.
Well, why is it a shame? If you're a public official, shouldn't you?
No, what I'm saying is we always want somebody black to save our souls, but right now we're not getting. We thought, well, we're gonna bring in this new police commissioner. It doesn't matter if she's a woman or not. I was proud and happy when she arrived, but she keeps giving the same answers. I'm confused. I need help from the public, and then won't even give out the number. How you want to ask for help and don't even give out the number? Why do I got to do it? I only have a 12th grade education. I ain't no genius. But I got a PhD in street smarts.
And boy, do you ever use it.
And that's right. That's how I got it. I was the first black salesman in King of Prussia.
I believe you.
That's right. When it was a Bamberger's.
Oh my God.
And guess what the guy told me when I came to the door?
What?
Sir, maintenance is around the back.
Ooh.
They had
Believe it or not, Believe it or not, Maurice, it's still happening, right?
I know, and the store manager had to let me in.
Mm-hmm.
Because he really believed there was no such thing as a black salesman in King of Prussia.
Mm.
And when she told me, you want me to fire the guy? You know what I told her? No, I don't want you to fire him. I want to have that over his head every time I come in the door. You know I say your job, right? I want you to tell your family when you're eating them grits with the sugar on it and eating that potato salad with the raisins and eating that unfloured fried chicken that Maurice saved you.
Why do you not behave yourself?
I can't because that's how I get ahead.
Is there anything else you'd like to add, sir?
I want you to have a wonderful day. And if Lola calls, tell her I love her because she was great on the show before you.
Oh, well, tell Lola to call. I'd love it. You know, the guys call me all the time. Tell Lola to pick up the phone and call Mother and tell her what's going on in her. Because Lola's good. Lola's really good. Tell her
I'm going to hit her up on Tinder and see if we can get together.
I don't think Lola wants you, Maurice, but thank you for trying.
Well, look, all I can do is throw the line out. If I catch, I catch. If I don't, well, that's the one that got away.
All right, bye,
See you later.
Have a good weekend, okay? All right. You know he's going to hang up. So before I go to break, I know I have a couple more callers. Let me do this first. What was this? I just want to make sure that I'm doing this properly. New York Post. Wow. Fears arise that Lambda COVID-19 variant from Peru may be resistant to vaccines, written by Lee Brown. And I read a couple of medical articles too before I decided to talk about this because it's happening in the Caribbean and in the southwestern countries, and they're finding the Delta strains, that strain here, the Lambda strain of COVID, in parts of the country, the United States. Scientists fear that a highly contagious new COVID-19 variant that is ravaging Peru may be resistant to vaccines. The Lambda mutation, or C.37, appears to have emerged in Peru last August and is being blamed for the country having the highest pandemic death rate in the world, which, by the way, is now over 6 million people. The concerning strain has since spread to around 30 countries, mostly in Latin America, but also as far as the UK, which has recorded at least 8 cases, according to government figures. There are no known cases of Lambda strain in the U.S. That is not true. So let me just go ahead and do this. Let me read this part. Let me just see. Let me see. Yep. It is in the U.S. now. According to data from GISAID, which is Lambda is now in 31 countries, including the United States, Chile, Peru, Germany, Mexico, Argentina, Spain, Ecuador, and Israel. How they're asking, is Lambda resistant to vaccines? No one knows this for sure, but the World Health Organization and national public health organizations are racing to find out. One preprint scientific paper by researchers in Chile suggests Lambda can better escape the neutralizing antibodies caused by the coronavac vaccine, but the paper has not been peer-reviewed yet, right? So, how worried should I be about Lambda? As with any strain of SARS-CoV-2, you should be cautious about it. Scientists don't yet know how big of a problem Lambda may become. At the time of this writing, there are other variants to be more concerned about, like Delta. But the best way to protect against any variant, Delta and Lambda included, is to get fully vaccinated and then continue social distancing, wearing your masks in crowded places, even if such measures are optional and not mandated. I have a couple of callers on the line. Let me take a quick break, and then I will get to both of you. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
The Sweet Treat Hut is the highest-rated juice bar in Philly, located on the corner of 50th and Thompson Streets, providing delicious, healthy vegan food, juices, and smoothies. Treat yourself to a cup of happiness. Call 215-877-1471.
The Black Words Book Club. WURD Radio's conversation on books that explore the African American experience through social, economic, and environmental justice issues. Tune in the second Tuesday of every month on Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro, 4 p.m. till 7 p.m. The Black Words book for July is White Evangelical Racism, The Politics of Morality in America by Penn's Dr. Anthea Butler. Be sure to listen live as Nick Taliaferro will hold a contest for a giveaway book bundle that consists of 4 titles from Kensington's Defina's Authors of Color's newest release. Don't miss it, Tuesday, July 13th on Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro. Attention for WURD members. Get your copy and receive a 20% discount when you purchase at Harriet's Bookstore or Hakeem's Bookstore. For more information on the Black Words Book Club, visit wordradio.com. The Black Words Book Club is sponsored by Defina. Defina is an imprint of Kensington Publishing Corporation, America's independent publisher, concentrating on authors of color.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. Al from Northeast, line 2. How are you, sir?
How are you doing, Andrea?
I'm so good. What can I do for you?
Oh, no, I just wanted to call in. I listen to your show occasionally and always enjoyed your program.
Thank you.
Very good. You're very knowledgeable and a great host.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
But one thing I wanted to speak on earlier, I heard Maurice, the world-renowned Maurice speaking, and he's usually right on a lot of things he says. But we got to stop using bad language, bad terminology. Snitch line. Who wants to be on a snitch line?
Tip
that's
line.
a negative connotation. It's like you're going to make the person trying to do good, the evil person and the perpetrator, oh, he's all right, the shooter, whatever. But then the person that does the right thing is a snitch.
Right.
That's
You're right.
backwards.
Yeah.
We got to, and we see they need to, not get like vulgar or anything, but they just show all the funerals people are going to, show the cast, show the results of all the shootings. It's not real to people. They got to see the results. I don't understand, Al, because you see people crying on social media. I think it just affected a public servant, Sharif, Street. Somebody in his family was shot and killed recently. It's happening over and again. And one of the things that Sheriff Bilal said was that we have to become harder on these criminals, that we can't, the ones that are constant, and it's only a small group of them that are constantly out there. We know where they live, we know whose family they belong to, and we hold on to them tightly because we're not supposed to say what's going on. And people are dying out here, right? And so she says the ones that are hardened criminals that just will never stop, she said lock them up and throw away the key. What else can we do? Because we can't. I agree.
We can't do one side of it and say, well, we're targeting black folks unnecessarily. And yes, there are instances where we are targeted unnecessarily. But in situations where you see the same few people doing the same thing over and again, it is time to do something. It
comes down to a question of knowing right from wrong. And we all know right from wrong. You know when you're doing dirt.
Yep.
Let the punishment fit the crime. If you're doing dirt, people come up hard and maybe they make a mistake one time, and I'll give you the mistake. But if you continue to keep doing the same thing and you're not learning, you're doing what you want to do. You have no remorse.
Yes. Thank you so much.
One more thing I want to mention real quick because I know you have no time. But listening to about these variants coming out, people better exercise caution and not be in a rush to get back to normal with these variants coming out. That last Lambda sounds very dangerous and deadly. We got to be on our guard because we're more susceptible to these viruses. It seems like.
Yes.
And people want to run around and just go back to normal. Listen, ain't that kind of party. I wear my mask when I'm out. I don't care if I look odd or stand out. Hey, guess what? I'll be the one still alive.
Yeah. Al, it's interesting that you said that because I still carry a slew of masks in my car. and I still have my wipes. So even if I touch any high touch surfaces, I'm still wiping my hands, still wiping down I'm wiping like, you know, when we first got locked down. I still do all those things, constantly washing my hands. I think we've gotten way too comfortable. Even when we're traveling in airports where 3.57 million people going through every single day, we just plop down on the seats. Wipe your seats down, wipe the handles down, you know. The airport can only do but so much. Yes, they're doing extra cleaning, but after Johnny and Moo comes through for the 50th, 100th time during the day, they can't keep up with all of that. So carry your own cleaning stuff and clean, you know, wipe down your seats. So if people are looking at you like you're strange, you'll stay safe, right? And keep your mask on in high crowded areas. I don't know what else to tell people, but thank you for calling in, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Keep listening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I wanted to talk about the Haitian president and his wife that were assassinated by his own people. I'm going to come back and talk about that, but let me finish taking these calls that I have here. So I have Rita from Bucks County. Hi, Rita. How are you?
Hello. Should I take my speaker?
Should you what, ma'am?
Should I take my speaker?
Probably. I'll probably be able to hear you better.
Okay, hold on. Okay, I'm here. I'm back.
All right. How are you, ma'am?
Good. I'm an avid listener of your awesome program, and I love it.
Thank you. Thank
I
you.
Live in Bucks County, and I was listening to your last show when you were talking about those families. What was it, 11 families? That
The 14 families, yes, ma'am.
14 families displaced over in Montgomery County. And I had called, because I wanted to give you the name of Regional
Rita,
Housing
you were the
Legal
one. Yes, I got the
Yes.
number. I called the number. They haven't called me back.
Oh, my.
Yes,
those
ma'am.
families,
As soon as I
somebody
got
better
it, I
go over
called.
there. Yeah, someone that of the displaced families, they should call or go to their office in Glenside.
Okay.
Say, we need
okay.
help.
Okay.
And I'm
All
sure
right.
they would listen to you, although you're
Yes,
in
yes, ma'am.
Philadelphia, but you know so many people all over. So.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
So
their
the
quality-
phone number is it's the RHLS. The phone number is 215-572-7300. The Regional Housing Legal Services.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
They're located in Glenside, Pennsylvania, on
They're
Eastern
located
Road.
in Glenside. You know what, Miss Rita? What I'm going to do is tomorrow morning I'm going to go over there myself. All right?
Okay.
And then
All
I'm going to
right.
call Lisa Cyrus and see if we can get somebody over there to get some help, 572. Because oftentimes when people are displaced, it's difficult for them to, you know, take on something
I
extra,
know.
you know?
Oh,
So,
I know.
but
I
I want to
with
thank you.
them.
I want to thank
Okay.
you so much, okay?
All right, and thank you for all
All
that you
right.
do and for WURD. I love you. Got
Thank
to
you,
get back to
ma'am.
listening to your show. Bye-bye.
Thank you, madam. All right, bye-bye.
All right.
Oh, I just love the WURD listeners. Y'all are just, I just love you all. Make me feel so tickly. I love you all. You all don't even know. Al from Germantown, I see that you called Michael back. I have your phone number here. I will get to you over the weekend, okay? I'm trying to work out a few things. Now that the country is reopening, everybody and their brother wants a meeting yesterday from mother. And as hard as it is to believe, this is not the only thing that I do. So there's a lot going on in my life right now, so I'm trying to manage it all. The Associated Press wrote this 27 minutes ago. The latest, Haitian crowd finds 2 suspects in assassination. Port-au-Prince, Haiti. Haitian President Jovenel Moïse. At least 2 suspects in the killing of Haitian President Jovenel Moïse were found and roughed up by civilians in the capital of Port-au-Prince and were then turned over to police. Journalists saw scores of people gather around the men today, grabbing the suspects by their shirts and the back of their pants, pushing them and on occasion slapping them. People in the crowd said they had found the 2 hiding in the bushes. Police shortly arrived to arrest the men who were sweating heavily and were wearing clothes that seemed to be smeared with mud. Officers placed them in the back of a pickup truck and drove them away as the crowd ran after them to the nearby police station. Once the crowd arrived, some began to chant, "They killed the president. Give them to us. We are going to burn them." The crowd later set fire to several abandoned cars riddled with bullet holes that they apparently believed belonged to the suspects. The car didn't have license plates, and inside of them was an empty box of bullets and some water. National Police Director Leon Charles told Radio Metropole on Thursday that 6 people have been arrested, 7 were killed, and police are still looking for more of those responsible for the early Wednesday's raid in which the president was shot to death and his wife, Martine, critically wounded. Police say they have arrested 4 more suspects in the assassination of Haitian President Jovenel Moise, bringing the total to 6 detained and 7 killed. It's a lot. It's a lot. Can you imagine being the sitting president and all of this is going on? They come into your home and assassinate you? The Foreign Ministry, Italy has strongly condemned the attack on the heart of Haitian institutions following the shooting death of the president. The Foreign Ministry issued a statement on Thursday that also expressed hope that those guilty of this crime be quickly brought to justice. Italy appealed to all actors and all the Haitian political forces so that they may preserve the delicate political equilibriums, prevent tensions, and assure the institutional stability of the country and the security of the population. Let me tell you something that I know for sure. Growing up on an island, they've got to find them, because if they don't, the people will, and it will be what we call hell and powder house. So it's very interesting. In Dallas, airlines canceled flights to Haiti for a 2nd straight day on Thursday due to the closure of Haitian airports following the assassination of the president. Under U.S. regulations, passengers are entitled to refunds. American Airlines, JetBlue Airways, and Spirit Airlines waived costly fees for passengers who are booked on flights still scheduled over the next few days, but who want to delay their plans until mid-July. The terms vary by airline. The president, Dana Greenstansel, the president of Haiti, who we're talking about now, who was assassinated, and Haiti is in a bit of a turmoil. They have found 6, arrested 7 people are dead so far. The president was assassinated, and his wife was gravely injured. They are canceling flights to Haiti for the 2nd straight day on Thursday today due to the closure of the Haitian airports. When these kinds of things happen, the last thing you want to do is go there as a tourist, right? Because there's so much going on. Tracking service FlightAware says 28 flights, the vast majority of scheduled departures and arrivals at the main airport in Port-au-Prince had been canceled by midday today. The airport director said on Wednesday that only humanitarian and diplomatic flights would be allowed. Dozens of trucks were backed up on Thursday at the Dominican Republic's border with Haiti. That's the other thing, as crucial passage closed to most traffic following the assassination of Haiti's president. So if you are planning to go to the Dominican Republic, please proceed with caution too, because people who are desperate, you just want to make sure, if you're not accustomed to the customs of their countries and you show up there to have vacation and all hell breaks loose, you want to make sure that you have a safe way out. Journalists saw 3 trucks with Dominican license plates and 2 buses allowed through the Malpaso crossing, but most were held back, frustrating hundreds of Haitians with baskets and carts on the other side who were waiting for the usual daily shipments of food and other cargo. Dominican President Luis Abinader ordered the closure on Wednesday and also beefed up security along the border after Haiti's government reported that a team of gunmen had assassinated its president. The president of the Dominican Association of Exporters, Elizabeth Mina, said she was worried that the closure could have serious repercussions for the Dominican economy because they barter back and forth between their economies, right? And so there's a lot going on here. I just wanted to make you guys aware of that. So let me do this again. Let me see what's going on here. So much is going on around the world, and we really do need to talk about it. I know we concentrate a lot on Philadelphia, but we are all concerned about everything that happens around the world impacts us in some way, shape, or form. So South Africa's ex-leader, which reminds me, I need Nia Mal back on here to talk about life across the diaspora. Former South African President Jacob Zuma turned himself over to police early Thursday to begin serving a 15-month prison term just minutes before the midnight deadline. Again, this is the Associated Press. I just want to make sure I see who was written by. Mogomotsi Magomi. So that's someone who's familiar with the country. President Zuma has decided to comply with the incarceration order. He is on his way to hand himself over to Correctional Services facility in KZN, Natal Province, said a tweet posted by the Zuma Foundation. So that's that. Let's see. Japan to declare virus emergency lasting through the Olympics. Let me see. Can I? Just want to make sure this is not work. Oh, there we go. Here we go. Sometimes the computers. In Tokyo, Associated Press again. Mary Yamaguchi wrote this article. Japan is set to place Tokyo under a state of emergency that would last through the Olympics, fearing an ongoing COVID-19 surge will multiply during the Games. At a meeting with experts Thursday morning, government officials proposed a plan to issue a state of emergency in Tokyo from next Monday to August 22nd. The Summer Olympics, already delayed a year by the pandemic, begin July 23rd and close August 8th. The Games already will take place without foreign spectators, but the planned 6-week state of emergency likely ends chances of a local audience. A decision about fans is expected later Thursday when local organizers meet with the International Olympic Committee and other representatives. Tokyo is currently under less stringent measures that focus on shortened hours for bars and restaurants, but have proven less effective at slowing the spread of the coronavirus. I need you all to please, these airports are filled with people. You all are traveling all over the place, which reminds me, I need to talk about this because I've been just so annoyed by what I see happening as we move across the country. So hold on, I literally should have written an article about this, but I'm going to talk about it here. Come on, open up. Come on, open up. Yeah, everything is moving so slowly today. I'm not sure why. Come on, people. Work with mother. I'm trying to open up this thing here. Let me see if I can do it over here. Let's see if I can find it over here. Hold on for mother. I just want to read something to you because you all are traveling and causing more havoc. You all are causing more havoc than necessary as you travel. Let me rent. All right. So I want to read this to you, and I think I have a little bit of time. In fact, let me take a quick break, and then we'll come back and read this, and then I'll take Rick from Germany. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
So many times we say to ourselves, I need to make a difference. Well, your chance is here. Center in the Park is holding a virtual volunteer event Friday, August 6, 2021 from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Advocate for those who can't, support those who can, and ensure all long-term care residents live with dignity and respect. Register for this Ombudsman event at info@centerinthepark.org. We all feel better when we do something that matters and when we do something with purpose.
Tune in every Saturday at 6 p.m. to Recovery Talk 101 with your host, Rick Ford, talking about addiction, treatment, and recovery, right here on WURD Radio.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. There's some spirited conversation going on over here on YouTube. Lola, who apparently called in this morning, Malcolm was saying, you know, she did an amazing job. I don't know what she talked about, but she says, thanks at Malcolm. I'm very spirited about issues that affect black people and the non-action that is taking place in the city and the cities around this country I'm involved in. We should all be. I'm involved. We should all be. I agree. I absolutely agree. And that's why we keep talking about it. Gloria Robinson says the virus is still out here. We must keep ourselves safe. Lucy says that's wonderful that you're helping displaced people. That's a beautiful blessing. You know, it's what else can we do if we're here and we're supposed to help people? It's not just about getting on here and delivering the news. If there are ways that you can be helpful, then yes. So I thank you. Phyllis Johnson says, good afternoon. Newton Road has been like that for years. FYI, the city of Philadelphia has been dealing with people dumping and any and everything for years. Okay, so I wrote this this morning, actually 9 hours ago, because anybody that knows me knows I am sleeping before 7 p.m. because I am up at 3 every single morning without fail. I'm writing, I am processing praying, meditating, and then I get on my bicycle or whatever I'm doing for exercise for the day. And so I wrote this after just seeing people's horrific behaviors as I travel, right? Some tips when traveling outside of your front door to visit other people or places. Number one, speak kindly to those who are serving you. Saying, give me this or I want that with no please or thank you is offensive. Number two, dropping your food with nary a care in the world is rude and disgusting to watch. Clean up after yourself. 3, tip appropriately. Putting $2 in the hands of someone who lugged your luggage a donkey mile for your convenience is abhorrent. 4, nickel and diming everything and hollering that you want money off or back is just, I have no words. If it is that serious, stay home until you can truly afford to travel with a modicum of decency. 5, learn to roll with the punches, especially when you are in another country, as chances are life there may be vastly different than what you're accustomed to. Do your homework before clicking the button to purchase said trip. Number 6, whining incessantly means you need to be by yourself with some cheese and crackers. 7, when traveling with others, be considerate of everyone, not just your wants, needs, or money. Putting others out of their comfort zones unnecessarily without so much as a thank you puts you on the no travel ban moving forward. 8, this was a big one for a lot of people. When dining with others, do not take the check to calculate what you ordered. Put your card or money on the table to either split said check evenly or pick up the entire tab. Anything less is tacky as hell. Yes, I said it. Addendum, if there are excessive drinkers in your party, they should have enough sense to request that the alcohol bill be separated from the food. If they don't, you need new friends and never, ever dine with them again. Number 9, if you have serious food allergies or picky eating habits, peruse the menu online beforehand instead of making the lives of the servers and chefs a living hell with all your specifications. Better yet, carry your own seasonings if it is that serious. It is better to find the place that suits your palate instead ahead of time so everyone can enjoy themselves. Number 10, when going on vacation, if you know your budget cannot handle all the things you want to do, choose wisely when rolling on a shoestring. For example, eat a meal that is $10 a few times versus trying to sit on top of the world at a place that costs $250 just to sniff the air and be in their presence so you can boast while you cringe inside, knowing it will set you back. Number 11, a biggie for me. Tip housekeeping. No idea why I have to keep saying this, but seriously, they do not see a dime of your room costs, and cleaning takes loads of energy with often not the best pay in the hotel industry. They are providing you a service. While I am at it, due to COVID, hotels are trying to keep their staff safe by not having them clean rooms more than twice a week. You can ask for extra towels and toiletries, but for the love of God, leave the moaning at home and adjust. Everything is not just about you. 12, one last thing. If you are expecting people to cater to your every whim, and I do mean your every whim, and need from your car to your flights to your hotels, carry hundreds of dollars in tip money with you because every single person should be tipped for each service rendered. Valet for your car comes to mind. You don't want to keep parking and finding your car? These folks should be tipped each time you request or drop your car. If that is too much, do not choose that service. I hope this helps somebody in these streets. Uncouth behavior marks you. Vacation season is upon us, and you cannot take any old body with you if you hope to have a decent time. I said what I said, and I meant what I said. Rick from Germany, how are you, sir?
Hello, sister, and good day to you.
Good afternoon to you too, sir. What's going on?
First of all, let me say about moaning, groaning, whining, and complaining. I heard you when you said, I might need to be alone with my cheese and crackers.
That's when you're traveling, Rick. That's when you're traveling. Can't travel and moan and complain now.
Second.
This is vacation time, man. That's for traveling. You know, you got your moaning and complaining for your friends, you know, where you can talk on a daily basis. But if you're going to spend money to take a flight, if you're going to spend money to get in a car and drive miles and miles and miles away, not everybody can do this. And some people are just horrible. They have no manners. No manners whatsoever. And they treat the help staff as if they're their personal slaves. It is abhorrent. It's horrible, and I want it to stop. And let me tell you, every time I travel to a different country, they complain and fuss about Americans. Americans, Americans, Americans. If you're accustomed to doing something in America and it's not this, you don't know, follow what you see around. You know, do what you see other people are doing. Don't just step in with ego and arrogance and treat people horribly. Oh, Father. All right, Rick. I'm off my soapbox. What's up, sir?
I am a ninth grade dropout from Washington, D.C., but I spent time with the Church of Bible Understanding there in Philly when they had the Philadelphia Lamb House down in South Philly. This church also had an orphanage in Haiti, and I learned a little bit about Haiti and American politics, if not French politics regarding the Caribbean. From your islander perspective, what is the relation between Cuba and Haiti as we stand today?
So Haiti, as you know, were the first ones to start their revolution. I don't know that Cuba has. Cuba, you know what? Now see, you're making me think. Oh God.
You don't have to answer now. Maybe
well, hold on,
you
because Mother is. Keep going.
Because that is to it in a later show.
That's why I have Cuba and Haiti. That's why I have 4 cameras up here. And Haiti.
Thank you for the time, Mother.
You're so welcome. So let me take a look. Look at that. This is why when people ask questions, I just start to look. Foreign relations of Haiti. It says Haiti was one of the original members of the League of Nations and was one of the original members of the United Nations and several of its specialized and related agencies. It is also a founding member of the Organization of American States. It maintains diplomatic relations with 37 countries, mostly in Europe and Latin America. Haiti also has diplomatic relations with the Republic of China, commonly known as Taiwan, instead of the People's Republic of China. Taiwan is one of Haiti's major trading partners, and the two countries maintain very friendly relations. Haiti has also reestablished very warm relations with Cuba, in which a major act of bilateral cooperation has resulted in Cuba's large contribution of doctors to the country. The Haitian administration has publicly shown admiration to Fidel Castro and his administration. A total of 38 countries participated in the multinational force during the 1990-41 period. The international community rallied to Haiti's defense during the 1991-94 period of illegal military rule. 31 countries participated in the U.S.-led multinational force MNF, which under UN auspices intervened in September of 1994 to help restore the legitimate government and create a secure and stable environment in Haiti. At its peak, the MNF included roughly 21,000 troops, mostly Americans, and more than 1,000 international police monitors. Within 6 months, the troop level was gradually reduced as the MNF transitioned to a 6,000-strong peacekeeping force. The UN mission in Haiti was charged with maintaining the secure environment which the MNF had helped establish, as well as nurturing Haiti's new police force through the presence of 900 police advisors. Haiti is a country that we want to pay attention to now, make sure that they get what they need, and if you're going to travel, if you are someone who has family in Haiti, you understand what the turmoil is like right now. If you're able to reach them and to support them and send things to them, please do so. I get it. I totally get it. It's a lot going on. There's a lot going on there. But thank you, Rick, for calling in with that, because it helped me to look up these things. Oh, look at that. Sherelle Parker commented, "Thank you so much for pointing out this eyesore near Tookanny Creek. My team has brought this to the attention of Philly streets, and they have promised to remove it ASAP. Please continue to bring attention to situations like this, as we want to keep these areas as clean as possible. Anything else is acceptable. Thank you again." Well, thank you, Sherelle Parker. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you. I'm thanking her right now while I am on the air. because, you know, it's just a lot going on. So that's good. All right, so somebody's going to get over there to Tookanny Creek on Newtown Avenue and clean that up. And again, please support the best way that you can and start to record the license plates of the people that are out there doing the things that are not right. Oh, Lord, I love this. Okay, let's see. What else am I doing? I cannot say, listen, if you all want to call in, call now, because you know, once I get to my guests, it's difficult to talk to any of you. Associated Press again, Seth Borenstein, and this concerns me. Northwest heat wave impossible without climate change. There's a lot. You know, when I went to visit Seattle, Washington State, which is in the northwestern end of the country, we didn't need an air conditioner. We kept saying, no air conditioners here. They're like, no, it's always rainy and cold. And so we don't. I see her, Michael, and I see Prince. Now, Prince, how you going to call with 3 minutes before I got to go to break? Prince!
How are you?
I'm good. So can you do me a favor and call me back at, let me tell you when, at 2:40?
I can do that. No
yes,
problem.
so we can have a good conversation, okay?
I got you. Yes,
all right, because you know,
then.
Mother don't like cutting off my people now. You know, I don't play those games. All right.
All right.
I'll talk to you soon. All right. The Associated Press is saying this. The deadly heat wave that roasted the Pacific Northwest and Western Canada was virtually impossible without human-caused climate change that added a few extra degrees to the record-smashing temperatures, a new quick scientific study and analysis found. An international team of 27 scientists. I see her, Prince. She comes on at 2 o'clock, so I'll get her when we go into break. Just bring her in for me, please. Her and Deborah. An international team of 27 scientists calculated that climate change increased chances of the extreme heat occurring by at least 150 times, but likely much more. The study, not yet peer-reviewed, said that before the industrial era, the region's late June triple-digit heat was the type that would not have happened in human civilization. And even in today's warming world, it is said that the heat was a once-in-a-millennium event. I have people that are over in Seattle, Washington, that had to go up into the mountains. It got to 115 degrees there. No joke. And it's something because they don't use air conditioners. It was something to see. They had to move and get out of there. That once-in-a-millennium event would likely occur every 5 to 10 years once the world warms another 1.4 degrees, said Wednesday studies from the World Health Attribution. That much warming could be 40 or 50 years away if carbon pollution continues at its current pace. Oh, my Lord. This type of extreme heat would go from essentially virtually impossible to relatively commonplace, said study co-author Gabrielle Vecchi, a Princeton University climate scientist. That is a huge change. The study also found that in the Pacific Northwest and Canada, climate change was responsible for about 3.6 degrees of the heat shock. Those few degrees make a big difference in human health, said study co-author Christy Eby, a professor at the Center for Health and Global Environment at the University of Washington. The study is telling us climate change is killing people. See, when you don't take care of the earth does what it needs to do to rejuvenate itself. And in rejuvenating itself, many of us are going to end up getting booted off. So we're going to lose our lives. There's mudslides and fires, uncontrollable fires and hurricanes, you know. I say this all the time, and then I'm going to take a break. After June 30th, I don't touch an island because I've grown up on an island. So I understand what those hurricanes look like. You are playing Russian roulette, literally, when you step onto an island after June 30th, when the hurricane season picks up. The best time to travel is in December, January, February, March, where it's very cold here, but the temperature is amazing there. Remember that I gave you that tidbit. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. The very next voices you'll hear will be our guests from livelihood segment around diversity and inclusion. I'm looking so forward to having this conversation. We will be right back after these messages.
Hi, this is Samantha from Leo's Apparel on Germantown and Lehigh Ave. Open from 9:30 to 5:30 Monday through Saturday. We have the hottest selection of boys' dress suits and casual sportswear for boys sizes 2T to 20. Men, let me tell you, we got in a large shipment of straws from Stetson. We have new linen and dress suits. Biggest selection of Stacy Adams shoes. Get an extra WURD 10% discount.
Hello, my name is Andrea Delzell, and I've been using a wheelchair since I was 5 years old. If I had one message for the general public, it would be relax. Some folks get really flustered around disabled people, so they just pretend we're not there. I've actually had waiters talk to my companion and completely ignore me. People with disabilities just want the same respect and consideration as everyone else.
This is a message from United Spinal Association. Download our disability etiquette booklet at unitedspinal.org.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. Every Thursday, we have a livelihood segment with Deborah Keys Wright, who is just a phenomenal human being that has been doing diversity, equity, and inclusion work for as long as I can remember, since I met her in 2012 as a school board member working for National School Board Association. Today's guest is Keisha Hamilton, who is the chair of the City of Jackson's Michigan Racial Equity Commission and the first in the state. The conversation will be focused on how diversity, equity, and inclusion is usually theorized and not implemented. Lord Jesus, I don't know if my heart can take this conversation. She will also speak from the perspective of a newly elected board member. Congratulations, November 2020, and how she sees the need to ensure equitable practices by the governing body. Keisha Hamilton is a lifelong resident of the city of Jackson, Michigan, and works passionately for social, civil, and political rights, equity, equality, and dignity for all. She's the proud mother of 6 beautiful children. Wow. 4 girls and 2 boys who she prioritizes when she is not spending time with her children. She is volunteering in her community. She also hosts a weekly Facebook Live, a meeting of diverse minds with Keisha Hamilton, focused on weekly chats about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and anti-racism, and how it affects every part of our lives. Well, let me just come on over here so I can see their faces. Hello! Good afternoon.
Hey there. How are you?
I am so good. So listen, racism is not going anywhere, is it? We're still here. It's alive and well in these streets. Good afternoon, Ms. Hamilton. Thank you so much for being a part of our conversation today.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon.
All right. So, Deborah, I'm going to let you take the show, and then Ms. Hamilton and I will have a good conversation.
Okay, because you know how we are always talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, even people who are in those positions. And that's a good thing, but we have to just make sure that, you know, when you're in those positions, you're just not there as a token or as a check the box. You have to really make sure that you have a team also, because usually it is one person in one department, and we know that. And so we just have to really make sure that if you are going to be effective in this work, you really have to make sure you do your homework, like discovery of the place where you are, to ensure where the issues are, and really elevate equity. Because, you know, we say DEI, but I really like EDI, because you have to have equity first, you know, to be able to sustain all of this work. But, you know, we're used to saying DEI, but that doesn't mean you can't, you know, elevate what the equity work is. But you have to really, of course, when you're starting with equity, you have to do some self-reflecting and see your perspective. How are you going to engage in this conversation? Because it is going to be a very sensitive conversation. We know that. Not everyone is ready for it, because right away equity seems to be, you know, when you talk about it, tend to put people on a defense, especially today. And so you have to meet people literally where they are. And like I always say, when they tell you where they are, believe them, and you handle them there, because you can't get the great message to them about equity and inclusion beating them down or making them feel like they're not valued, or, you know. And so again, it's really really looking at the space and when you're having this conversation, especially in the school system and in your workplace, because it's tough for folks who without melanin in their skin today. They're very sensitive, but we need to have this courageous conversation because it's important, and it's not about, you know, in a punitive way saying what people haven't done. Let's talk about where we are today. And what do we need to do to, of course, our focus is always what's best for our brilliant scholars. Right. What do we as adults need to do? Because we can be in a position to oppress our children. What do we need to do to make sure there are equitable practices in the school system, making sure that there's enough diversity, not only in ethnicity, but in thought and behavior, all of this that will help a well-roundedness of a child, making sure you educate the whole child. So my interaction with Keisha, she also actually reached out to me as a new school board member. And so I've been coaching her, and for her background to be what it is, you know, and I know, Andrea, I told her a little bit about, you know, the work that you're doing. So I thought she would be a phenomenal guest to engage in this conversation, especially when she hears you jump on the bandwagon with what you've experienced. And so you see Keisha, she's already, when she starts doing this, she's getting ready for it. So I'm going to turn it over to Keisha, and you can go right ahead, Keisha.
So Keisha, good afternoon. I don't know which one of these. Okay, are you stable now? Your connection's stable now? Is that better?
I am here. I'm on my cell right now.
Okay,
that's okay.
Right. Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
So what in order for you to be chair of Jackson's Racial Equity Commission, you need to tell me how this came about, because I know it didn't just, somebody didn't just wake up one day and said, oh, you know, we should. Okay, all right.
No.
So tell me what happened, please, to get to
this. So, you know, George Floyd, when he died, I live in a small city, pretty conservative, you know, Republican. They say that our city is where the Republican Party was born. So the city of Jackson, Michigan, is where the Republican Party was born. And we know that when it was born way back, their priorities were different than they are today.
Right.
But today they're very reflective of the current Republican Party. So my city is reflective of that. Mm-hmm. My county is. So when George Floyd was killed, we outcried, you know, just like the rest of the world did. You know, there was a strong outcry. You know, many people in the Black and brown communities, and we had some white people as well who supported our efforts to have an outcry. You know, we did some marches. Well, after we did that, I have a gentleman that I talk to often. He proposed 10 points, kind of like Malcolm X's. I think Malcolm X is the 10. He proposed 10 points that he presented to the city council. Well, 3 of those points I kind of latched onto. We wanted the creation of a Department of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at our city level. We wanted a chief equity officer named. We wanted that title to be codified. And we wanted a racial equity commission, which would be made up of the city of Jackson's citizens who could kind of hold the city council and the city itself accountable. So I went through the process of, you know, talking to the mayor and trying to get him to, you know, create this. He wasn't, you know, at the outset super excited about it, you know, clearly. He's a Democrat leaning, you know, Republican, or, you know, mayor, but, you know, Democrats, we know how. Anyways, so this video might get watched in my hometown, so I'm trying to be clear.
I get it.
So, you know, when I didn't get the response that I wanted initially, I went to the citizens and I said, hey, y'all, let's flood their emails. Because, you know, at the time, George Floyd occurred during the beginning of the pandemic. We all were home. So I said, let's flood their emails, if you have their text messages, flood their text messages. And the city responded. They sent emails. They showed up to city council on Zooms and made comment. And eventually, through the process of, you know, a lot of back and forth and all that whole process, we did get to have a codified chief equity officer. You know, and I told him, I said, when you do this, I need him to have I wanted the title because I wanted him to be paid according to that title. Because we did have a person who was kind of operating in that position without a title, and the title just makes a difference. So I said, we need it codified, we need a title. So we got that. We got the Department of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and we do have the first Racial Equity Commission in the state of Michigan. There are some other commissions that different cities have in the state, but none of them have a commission that is specifically dedicated to racial equity. Right. And so I was excited about that. Yeah.
All right. So because you just, you were the little engine that could,
yep.
you ended up being the chair of this thing, right?
Yes,
One of the things that I took from you as you were talking was this. It is nice to march, but what are you asking for? Right?
Yeah.
And so those 10 points where you labeled down to 3 and got those 3 things taken care of is what we talk about. And I'm talking to my folks in Philadelphia because we get frustrated when nothing is happening.
Yes.
But it's like, what are we asking for and what are you willing to do to make sure that what you're asking for comes to fruition?
Yes.
All of that makes a difference.
Yes.
Okay. So now you have this Racial Equity Commission.
Uh-huh.
I know people might be watching from your home state, so I'm going to try to be nice.
Right.
I'm going to try to be nice. How long has it been in existence?
So August of 2020, I think, is when they finally took a vote on it. And there was a unanimous vote. I'll say that. We have however many city council persons, and all of them voted yes. Of course, this is the midst of George Floyd. Finally, by August, they had voted, and it was a unanimous yes vote.
And these were Republicans or a mixture of Republicans and Democrats?
Mixture. Yep, a mixture.
Okay. I love when that happens, when they come together. So you actually moved much faster than I expected. I thought you were going to tell me April of 2021. So you all, because George Floyd was killed in May, by August you had this day. So you all must have been out there really, really. I tell folks all the time, citizens, parents are the most powerful group if you just know how powerful your voices are, right? So you just demonstrated that. All right, so what have you been able to get done since then?
So we did have our first meeting in April of 2021.
Okay.
So you were right about, part of that. First meeting, April 2021, and this is July, so we'll be having our third meeting tonight, actually. We just finished our strategic plan. We've, gotten our officers. We've gotten a few different subcommittees. We were getting the last commissioner today. We'll be deciding on the last commissioner today because we have one more to bring it on. But then after that, because we have our strategic plan in place, tonight is the night we'll start deciding, okay, what are we doing? How are we information gathering? We need our data so we can start holding things accountable, holding departments accountable.
Right.
Yep.
And what are the top issues in Jackson as you see them right now?
Housing is a huge issue for the city of Jackson. We have, South Side, I guess in almost every city is where a lot of Black and brown individuals live. And the poverty rate over there is extremely low. There's no grocery store over there, food desert, so housing is huge in Jackson right now. But even law enforcement, just the relationship between the Black and brown community with law enforcement. So the normal issues that are really prevalent in most cities are, prevalent here too. It's like I said, it's a Republican leaning county. Right. Our city is more Democrat leaning, but it's still, as African American women and we know what Democrat really means.
Right. But I got to tell you, very honestly, that in 2016, I was quite disgusted with both parties, right? I said to the Democrats, I said, you've taken our votes for granted for so long. Black women are going to rise up. I said it knowing that it was already happening. I expected them to ignore me. Black women are going to rise up and start to run for office and win these seats, and things are going to shift, and we're no longer waiting for you to tell us, to knight us and say, this is why, this is who we choose to run for office. It started happening, right? And so, I want to make sure that as we are doing the work that we are also taking care of our mental health and well-being, because it can be incredibly challenging, and you're always going to run into all kinds of roadblocks. You and I know this. You are a mother of 6 children.
Yes, ma'am.
Your heart.
Yes,
ma'am. 2. And that's a lot of work. So how do you manage, because I remember when I got completely involved, even though I wasn't as public as I am now, I remember saying to my children, I am going to need you to always be aware of what's happening around you. I need you to be aware of that people may come to you to get through to me. And so I felt a little bit, and I didn't start until they were teenagers, because someone who was on the school board by the name of Shirley Weiss, when she first saw me in 2005, she got off in the middle of the meeting. The woman got off the dais. She was a Republican, and she said, you are going to shift life here in Abington. She said it to my ears. She said, you're going to shift life here. She said, but I want you to hold on for how old are your children? I told her. She said, they're just past the age. I need you to wait until they're teenagers, and then I want you to come and run for the board. They're not going to want to accept you, but I will help you.
Wow.
And she did. And I got on the board.
Wow.
And, yeah, I'm trying to tell you, but it is a responsibility. I'm asking you this, and I'm telling you this because I understand the responsibility that is on your children as a direct result of your being a leader in your community on the school board and then chair of this commission. So how do you navigate? How do you codify being a mom of 6 and do all of this too?
So you're so right, and it was so familiar just what you were saying. I totally sat my children down, talked to them, and told them, I said, you know, mommy's got a target on her, you know, because I'm pretty outspoken. And
I like this sister right here.
You know, I let them know. I said, you know, these things can occur.
Yeah.
My son, when I first got on the school board, he got upset at one of his teachers, and he came home and he was fussing about it, and he was like, and I need you to get her fired. And I told him, I said, that's not mommy's role, you know. Let's have a conversation. But I definitely stay very close to my children. I'm divorced. So through that divorce, part of that, even before I was divorced, I was a homeschooling mom. I homeschooled my children for more than 8 years. So staying close to them is extremely important to them. But then once the divorce occurred, it was even more important for me just to stay super close to them. So because I've already been doing that, every step I take, they are fully aware of. I inform them of different things that they need to be aware of, and I keep them abreast of everything. They're very important to me, you know.
I'm glad to hear that. I really am, because I remember, now my children are 29 and 24 now, and about a year ago, the oldest one said to me, we used to walk into the house and hear the kinds of people that were calling you and the levels of conversation that you were having. And I would take my younger brother and say, let's go over here. Don't disturb mommy. And he said to him, you are to never repeat anything that is said in this house. I didn't even have to tell them.
Wow.
Right? So it's a responsibility that they take on as young people. So I just want to make sure they were okay. You're doing the right things, Mama. I'm proud of you. I'm absolutely proud of you, because it's important as you're taking care of the world that you make sure what's going on in your home is taken care of too. Right?
First, yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And you can't get back that time. So, you know, we know that. All right. So, school board, the commission, how did you get involved? What got you engaged before this commission and the school board? What happened in Jackson that spurred you with 6 children to decide that you wanted to be a community leader? What was the impetus behind that?
So, you know what, my entire life, literally, I have always, and I know I get this a lot of it from my mother, always felt a concern for the person who was being ignored, the vulnerable. You know what I mean? I've just always had that in me. We moved to Georgia when I was married with my spouse at the time for about 5 years. And I began doing a lot of work down there. I was in church. I've been in church since I was 9, though. So, you know, we did community engagement as a part of that. You know what I mean? When I came back home, though, you know, I was divorced. I had my 6 children, or on the verge of divorce with my 6 children. And I had to get a degree and, you know, just all these different things. So I took a little bit of time to go to school, take care of my children, you know, really stay close to them during that time because we were leaving their dad, you know.
Right.
But after the 2 years, I had 2 years getting my associates. Got it. As soon as I got my associates, like in May, I was like, okay, I'm ready to get back to what I love, and that is volunteering and taking care of other people. I just love doing that. So as soon as I could, you know, after I took some time and made sure my kids were okay and got a little bit of schooling under my belt, then I went right back into, you know, finding a way to serve my community. You know.
Right. What advice do you have for people who are thinking about this kind of work? Because it's trying. It is. I know.
Yeah.
Listen, I've called Deborah and I was like, Deborah? When I was on the school board, I would show up for the national meetings and I'd look at her and I'd look at all the school board members around the country and I'd go, how do we do this?
Yes.
Luckily for me, Deborah stayed in touch with me from 2012 to present, right?
Okay.
So is there anybody that you latch onto that will be able to advise you and mentor you through all of this? Because you just got on the school board.
Yes. So, and as Deborah mentioned, I reached out to her. So I can't remember how I found out about her. I can't remember the, instance, but whatever it was, as soon as the call or whatever was over, I immediately reached out because I'm constantly looking for mentors. I'm just like, I can't make it on my own. I know I can't, and I need a Black woman to be the one advising me. And I'm very selective in who I choose, because I'm just like, I don't need somebody who doesn't understand me. I need somebody. So Deborah, when I reached out to her after I heard from her on whatever it was we were talking on, I was just like, I think she'd be the one, and I'm hoping that she would be willing to mentor me. And but I'm always looking for mentors. I'm always looking for space that affirms me and that understands me, because I know that when I get out of those spaces, I got to go into other spaces that don't, kind of do battle, and then I got to come back and regroup. Then I'm an introvert. I am very intentional about taking my time to refuel and reboost myself. So every other weekend, I intentionally take my Friday nights and there for Keisha to just refuel and to get herself together. And then I'm ready for the world again.
You know what? As I listen to you talk, we have been at it, Deborah and I have been at this thing for a long time in our respective fields, and then as friends with each other. You literally epitomize leadership that we hope to see. There's a level of humility inside of you. You understand what is required. You know what you need. You know where your limits are, and that is a beautiful thing. So I expect to see great things from you. Now, let me ask you this question.
Okay.
How do you marry what you see happening in Jackson versus what you see happening in the schools as it applies to diversity, equity, and inclusion? Because, Deborah, I was going there. I was being nice, I'm trying not to mess up.
I was ready. I knew you were going there.
Trying not to mess up the people in Jackson, but we got to go there.
Oh, yeah. Yes, please, let's go there all the way. But anyway, so how do I marry it? I'm fortunate to be sitting on a board in a school district where I was a student. So I graduated from my board of this school more than 20 years ago. What is sadly not surprising is what I dealt with as a student. I'm still seeing, like, my own children. I have 2 graduates. My second one graduated this year. My own children were complaining about the exact same things that I experienced at JPS, which is where I'm a school board member at. But my school community is a direct reflection of the city of Jackson. You know what I mean? So they're one and the same.
Wow. So what are the issues? What are the things that you're finding?
So lack of representation, the curriculum is inappropriate to just really to 2021, 21st century, you know what I mean? The accessibility for Black and Brown students is not there. And then, like I said, especially representation, we have a very hard time finding and keeping, Black and Brown individuals, men and women who teach. The curriculum is completely outdated. The culture is it's very white supremacist in its nature. It's it upholds white supremacy. You know what I mean? It just does. It's like I said, we're in a Republican county, and though our city is more Democrat leaning, Democrat, Republican is really all the same to some degree, and it's a reflection of our community, and of our school district.
Have you figured out yet that this is fear? Why people don't want to change?
Yes. Yeah. Fear, power. Fear they don't. The guilt, shame.
Deborah, I got to pull you into this conversation right now, and let me tell you why. I am finding educators of color who have gone into school districts expecting to be promoted and have waited so long that they quit and go somewhere else. And the school districts are offended that they left because, after all, they gave them the job, and they should feel grateful and have a level of gratitude that'll keep them there forever, instead of asking these people, what can we do to make life, make it sustainable here for you? They figure just giving them the job and being able to, quote unquote, work in this great place should be enough for them, right? And what I hear on the back end are educators saying things like, I have watched myself being passed over and over again, that I have learned what needs to be done. I've been training. I trained people that came in after me, and they got promoted before me, and it's just continuing to happen. And I keep hearing, wait my turn, wait my turn. And so now, with such a shortage of educators of color, there is a demand for them wherever they decide that they want to go. What can and should school districts do to acquire? And I'm telling you, Keisha, I'm telling you, I don't just look cute. smart up here. To acquire and retain.
I have used that line. That's how I've used that exact same line. I'm cute, but that's not all I can do.
You two cute women. You know, the key thing is, and you hit the nail on the head, Andrea. That's their perspective, okay? And they believe that. So you have to know where you are and understand that they are really speaking their truth, okay? And so the key thing is, and Keisha mentioned this, you have to change the culture. You have to change the mindset and behaviors that have been allowed for decades, where we just get a place and then you just stay there until I tell you to move. Right. Those days are over. That enslaved mentality is over. That mindset is over. And so until you change the paradigm shift in their mindset and changing the culture of the system in which you're working, and things won't change. And there is a shortage for Black and brown educators across the country. And so what I say is, we're not saying that white people cannot teach or lead our Black and brown children. What I am saying is that we know that it will be a positive impact on our students if they see someone who reflects them. But until you get a staff to reflect them, the ones you have, you need to address the issues.
All right, well, hold on one second. Let me take a quick break because I want to come back and talk about the educators that have been there forever, that sits in the staff room and says, well, things aren't the same. We don't need to have somebody of color in here teaching. And so when you are able to acquire, you're not able to retain as a direct result of the things that they do. When we come back, we'll talk about the things that they do because I'm very clear about those things too. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
AARP is working to protect Americans 50 plus by making sure you have the latest information about the COVID-19 vaccines and the distribution plans in Pennsylvania. Just visit aarp.org/PA vaccine to learn who's eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine, when, where, and how to get it in Philadelphia and the rest of the Commonwealth, and what you might want to discuss with your doctor. That's aarp.org/PA vaccine.
Are you an educator looking for a life-changing opportunity? Youth Build Philly Charter School might be the home for you. Apply to Youth Build to join a family of educators dedicated to learning and growing with young people. Check out current opportunities at youthbuildphilly.org or follow them on social media at YouthBuildPHL. Join Youth Build today. Youth Build is now accepting applications for the class of 2021.
This is not a fad for us. We will not resume our regular programming when things die down. We're not black to help our bottom line or because it's politically correct. We're not joining a fight. This has been our fight, our message, our people. Black lives have always mattered here. We are undeniably, indefatigably, unapologetically, permanently Black Talk Media. WURD.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lockville Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. It's it's vacation time. I wish I could do this radio show while I'm on the road. Visiting different towns, talking to different people. So much fun. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, I have Keisha Hamilton, and I'm going to tell you exactly who she is because, listen, the sister's doing the thing. She's a lifelong resident of the city of Jackson and works passionately for social, civil, and political rights, equity, equality, and dignity for all. She's also the chair of the city of Jackson's, Michigan, Racial Equity Commission, the first ever in the state of that town, of that state. And then there's Deborah Keys Wright, who, Deborah's just Wright Keys to Consulting, She's amazing, amazing black sister who's just out here, who has been doing the diversity and inclusion work, equity and inclusion work. She's worked with Glenn Singleton and a slew of others over the years. She knows her stuff. She's not just on here smiling and being cute. These sisters are doing the work. So when we went to break, we were talking about the fact that, you know, part of the issue is the outdated curriculum and not being able to acquire and retain teachers of color. At the board level, what are you learning, Keisha, when you ask them, where are the educators of color? I can almost verbatim tell you what they're going to say. Well, go ahead. Let me see if I'm wrong for a change. What do they tell you when you ask, where are the black people or the colored people, the people of color, the Latina, the Asian, where are those folks in the schools?
So mostly the answer is that, you know, we can't find them. You know, we're going to the...
I wish they would be original. Go ahead.
But bottom line is they can't find them. But, you know, in attempt...
hiding in a hole?
Yeah, I think so. A deep one, you know. But some of the other things that they say is that, you know, we've gone to different, you know, different job fairs at different schools. This year they did do a huge, like a sign-on bonus to try to acquire more teachers, you know, but the biggest issue is that they can't find them. That's the real thing. You know, they're not graduating from schools to become teachers. They're not, you know, pursuing teaching careers. And so therefore they can't find them because, you know, they're not pursuing these careers. That's the biggest excuse, you know.
So they're saying the black people are not pursuing teaching careers.
Right. And Andrea, you know, the odd thing is that the state of Michigan State University is the highest producer of black educators. And so Jackson is not far from my hometown, Lansing, East Lansing, Michigan, where Michigan State is. And so when they say that, my question would be, where are you looking? Not just to say we can't find them. What's your process in making sure that you are throwing the net out there far enough? And are we competitive? And are we in an inviting place that people want to come and work? Now, you can say you can't find us, but what do you have to offer us? Is it an environment where individuals will feel welcome, that they will feel valued? Because the research shows that educators leave, especially teachers leave the profession because of the way they're treated, not necessarily because of pay. You know, pay is great, but it's the way they're treated. So if they don't feel valued and they're giving their all to these children, why would they stay? So what are you know, a signing bonus, okay, but what are they walking into? What's the environment? Right. That's the key thing. What is this environment?
And quite frankly, thousands of teachers have left the profession and have retired early, my husband being one of them. Loved teaching. He would go to work at 6 in the morning and I wouldn't see him until 10 at night. Loved teaching. And it was the way he was treated that made him decide at the end. I saw that when I finally posted it. I mean, I was like, see, I'm going to end up being sued. So let's just go. You go ahead and go and retire, right? Because we can do that. So and so he's, you know, doing it at the college level now, and he's doing summer camps. But it broke his heart that after all those years, and so what happens is these teachers become targeted, especially if they're doing everything that they can to support children. Now, my husband was one of 2 black educators.
Wow.
Now I want you to read my lips. One of 2, right? In his building, and maybe one of 8 or 9 in the entire school district of over 14,000 students, right? Every child of color, when they saw him, would fall over and go, "Oh my God, there's a black man in here!" Yeah. And they would all end up in his room. And every child that felt like a misfit, the ones who are smart, the Sheldon Coopers from the Big Bang Theory, he had all of those students. So he has churned out dozens and dozens of engineers. And somebody at the top decided, after he had won a gazillion trophies until they had to build a trophy case, that they had to get rid of him. You know what I mean? And so they did that by making his life miserable. So that's why I asked these questions. What are you doing to retain teachers, right? Yeah. And it really became an issue for him when the superintendent called me and said, "I need you to come do some work over here for us around diversity, equity, and inclusion." And I said, "You're not ready for me. You are not ready for me." And I said to my husband at the time, he insisted, "We love you. We want you to come over." I said to my husband, "This is going to be the beginning of the end, because I see what the issues are. And the minute I point them out, as your wife, you are going to become a target."
Yep.
So said, so done. So a part of me feels responsible, right? And so, you know, we have to be careful. I don't work where I live.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I choose not to take a contract or work. So the entire time that I live in my community, I've never worked or taken a dime living in that community. My work happens outside of that community. It's true. You can't be a prophet in your own backyard. But when they started Googling me and they started seeing, because I didn't talk openly about what I did, and they realized that I was doing work at the University of Pennsylvania and that I was at Princeton and Harvard and doing all those things, he became a threat that he didn't see because all he was doing was continuing to teach. You see what I'm saying? So when we ask the question, what are we doing to support educators of color that are sitting in those spaces, and the teachers show up and tell you that the meeting's happening after the meeting ended? You know, you don't get what you need to have. I remember one educator got her doctorate, and she put her name, Dr. So-and-so, up on the door, and every morning when she came into work, that doctorate thing, her sign was torn into and stomped on the ground. I'm trying to tell you. And see, when they try to talk about it, they're like, well, you're making a big deal about nothing.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And you work really hard to get that PhD. You know? Or they walk through the hallways and they just don't speak.
Yes.
You know,
all those tactics. And so it's so crazy that you said that too, because in our district, one of the things that I ran on when I was running, I told them, I said, we have a high school. Our high school is only about 1,000 students now. It was bigger. It's been slowly, our whole district has slowly been getting smaller, but we have one Black teacher in the high school, one Black teacher, you know, so we have a couple of administrators who are Black, and they just recently came on. But that was one of my biggest issues. I said, we have one Black teacher. Now, you made a great point. Not only do we have an issue with, you know, getting Black and brown individuals to come and work for us, but then retaining them. What are we doing? And I said that was a specific, you know, intentional conversation I had with the superintendent. What are we doing to retain them? What's the culture like? You know, what are we bringing people into when we get them? You know, how far are we willing to go to get them? And then once we get them, what are we doing to retain them? But then the people who are here, you know, what are we doing to support our Black and brown individuals here? And I just literally spoke to one today, a different person today who worked in our district, a Black woman. And, you know, she decided to leave the district as well. You know, and part of her issue was the culture. You know, part of her issue was the culture, you know. It matters.
You want to pay attention, Ms. Hamilton, to when they're hiring, they're doing the hiring processes, and sometimes they have school board members sitting on those hiring processes. You want to pay attention to this. Will they fit in to our culture here?
Yes.
That is key word for you can't be too Black.
Yes.
You know, I've had someone who was completely dedicated to his craft that the superintendent walked up to him and said, we'll never promote you as long as you keep locks in your hair.
Wow.
See what I'm saying? I ended up working with him to help him to go to another district where he's now principal. You see what I'm saying? Like, these are the kinds of things that consistently happen to our people, that they have these criteria, these unspoken criteria, and sometimes very spoken criteria about what we can and can't do. That we have to have the Crown Act, a legislative law that says we can. I mean, are you serious? This country is.
we have to get a law to say that we can be. We just want to be.
Yes.
I don't want you to judge me. I know what I bring to the table. But there are multiple things that we have to do at once. Yes, we have to really push and make sure that they are hiring, that the hiring process is active and is going in the right. You're not just advertising in the same places so you can get the same people. Simultaneously, you must deal with the staff you have because there is a sense of urgency. There's too much damage being done to our babies with the staff that's there. So no one gets a pass. While you're here, there should be an expectation on how you're going to interact with kids who don't look like you. What do you need? You know, training is everything, but it's also still about the mindset, you know, cultural sensitivity. What does your data say? What are some, you know, what's your data saying about Black and brown children being suspended for the same infraction of someone non? You have to see what your data is telling you because it's telling you the story. And then once you get the information as a board member, you need to act upon that. The data is telling you exactly where your problems are, disciplinary. And it could be because teachers don't know how to interact with our children who don't look like them. And that's not acceptable. You chose this profession to teach all children. You will say all children can learn. Well, are you hindering some of our children? What are the obstacles that you are putting in their place? And, you know, as a board member, and I always say, you stay at that governing level so that you can see all of how the system is working. And you have to make decisions based on, we will not get to a culture if we continue this behavior. And that's where board members need to be very intentional about making decisions that's best for all children. Absolutely. When you do all children, they're all children too.
Right.
Unapologetically, if you have to focus on our Black and brown children, you do that without apologizing, because the key thing is all children have a right to the best education. And so when you have people who've been there 20, 30, 40 years and they don't want to change, when I know you're protected by the union, I understand all of that. But sometimes you have to just open the door and eventually start working with them and just say, this is the culture of this place where we're going to work, and this type of behavior is just no longer acceptable. And hopefully they will say either, well, I'm getting out of here because I'm not going to change, or they may change. If you connect them with peer-to-peer pressure is better than, you know, the superintendent pushing it down, you know, or the building principal. Get a firecracker of a teacher or a building principal who can mentor others, because it's best for the children. And these children today, they're speaking up. They are not going to tolerate, you know, what we've gone through the last year and a half. They're not going to tolerate insensitivity to what they want, the irrelevancy of the curriculum, where they can't see anyone who looks like them. Like, why are we talking about dead presidents all the time?
Right.
What's up with that?
So listen, audience member Lola Khan on YouTube said the Ruby Bridges story is now being labeled as critical race theory, and parents want it banned in Tennessee. And when it starts there, it will go across the country in schools. This is deplorable.
Yeah, I live in Tennessee, and yeah, we know what's going on with critical race theory. And I tell board members when they're marching and telling you, do you teach critical race theory? They're like, well, no. I said, well, say that.
Yes, because I think it's a
but they get scared.
Yes.
You're not teaching it, but then and that's a hard stop, period. What we are teaching is this. Be prepared. Don't go get pulled into that emotional thing about critical race theory, because we know where that came from. And we can't fall victim to that. That's just a distraction of us not being on our game, because we have some traction. And we have to just continue, pull people in and just continue. We'll stop talking about it when we don't need to talk about it anymore.
Yeah, because now they're saying teaching African-American history in the curriculum, which is supposed to be a basic right in schools. If you're teaching all the history, they're saying that's critical race theory. And people, instead of people being brave enough and saying, that's not what that is, and let's stop having this conversation that is apples and oranges, they're just backing away, you know?
Yeah.
And so when the loudest voice gets the most.
And Andrea, goes back to what we talked about before. Isabel Wilkerson, Cass, you go back to that. She spelled it out. If you don't, you shouldn't be surprised with what's happening today. It is spelled out. And yes, and by Tom Burrell, brainwashing is that mentality. Well, we have to work on ourselves too. I'm not just blaming white people. We have to work on ourselves and come together instead of pulling each other down and say, hey, come along on this journey, because we have to do what's best for our children first before we expect others to. So I think we have to take some ownership of what's happening as well.
Yeah, all right, hold on 1 second. I have Woody who wants to talk to Keisha. Lord, I'm telling you, you enjoy Woody.
Hi, Woody.
Woody, are you there?
I got two of my favorite women on at the same time. This is all right. I'm telling you now, you got the mouth with Andreas, but she backs it up too, you know. So if you ever need a mouth, you give her a call, because that girl is something else. But Miss Hamilton, I have to say to you that the issue of history is very, very important. I had a school teacher back in 1967, junior high school, Barrett, at the corner of 16th and Warden Street. That was the name of the school. They recently changed the name of the school. Now, keep this in mind. Dr. Martin Luther King, October 26, 1967, spoke at that school. The school teacher that had him come was Mr. Anthony Williams. He plays the saxophone. He's a jazz artist and things like that, but he's getting up there in age now, but he was a wonderful brother, and through jazz, he was able to get Dr. King to speak at our school. The only school that he spoke at was Barrett Junior High School. Now they've changed the name, just changed the name to the George W. Childs School. I've been fighting to try to get this name put back because of the historical relevance that it holds in changing the name of the school years and years from now. When I'm long gone, the kids will never know about that film. I even have the footage, the actual footage of the speech, and it was called What is the Blueprint for Your Lives? And he spoke, and after he spoke, he said, now go learn, babies, learn, so you can earn, babies, earn. Guess what? 30% of all Philadelphians are illiterate today. This is 2021. How does this happen accidentally? It doesn't. This is all on purpose. So when we deal with this issue of education, I call it systemic educational discrimination is real. We have to make sure we file some type of direct attention after arrow into the Board of Education to let them know we're aware of what's happening and the damage is done because Philadelphia has 30% illiteracy. Where did that come from? It's not an accident. So I would like to get your information, if you could leave it with Andrea or with the station or something that I could talk to you, because I've got some ideas that I think could work.
All right. Well, we'll do that. Thank you so much for calling, Woody. All right. Now, listen, ladies, hold on one second. Let me take one last quick break. I promise I'll let you go shortly afterwards, okay? Hold on. Are you looking for a job? WURD has got you covered. We just launched a brand new job portal featuring jobs from some of Philadelphia's leading companies and arts organizations. If you go to the portal right now, you will see jobs from WURD Radio, the Kimmel Center, Her Foods, Always Best Care, and more. Apply for a job today. Go to our livelihood website at wordworks.com. That's WURD works.com and click jobs. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on wordradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
Black Bras Abroad is a new show hosted by yours truly, Felina Jean. I've been an expat for over a decade, living across 4 continents, 6 countries, with travel to over 40 places in between. My show will feature spotlight interviews of compelling Black women who have also said peace out to the divided states and are thriving abroad. From Iceland to Istanbul, Madagascar to Mogadishu, and a host of other countries. Tune in every second Sunday of the month from 5 to 6 p.m.
Morning, Mama. How you feeling?
Great, and I'm ready for you today.
I'm checking in on you. Morning meditation?
Check.
Dressed and ready to work out?
Check.
Check your blood pressure yet?
And check.
Boom! Great job, Mom. And about those gold earrings?
No, ma'am.
Now more than ever, it's important that we protect our hearts and the hearts of those we love. Monitor your blood pressure daily and help each other stay motivated. Rally your squad to take the online pledge at releasethepressure.org. Brought to you by the Release the Pressure Coalition and the Ad Council.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on wordradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source for the final few minutes of our livelihood segment on diversity, equity, and inclusion. We have Keisha Hamilton, who is from Jackson, Michigan. Michigan. She's not from Tennessee, and Deborah Keys Wright, who is also from Lansing, Michigan. Both women we've had a riveting conversation. If you're just joining us, around what equity and inclusion looks like in the schools, how are we retaining the people that work there, et cetera, et cetera. How are we changing the curriculum for the students? Final words, ladies, from both of you. The trauma has been significant, and it took me a long time to realize that as someone who is an immigrant to this country. But the trauma on the lives of Black and brown people have been just incalculable, right? What are your final words in all of this for today? And I want to thank you both.
And I'll go, and then I'll let Keisha go. And I'm so glad you brought up trauma, because we have to be we need to be reminded of that. Our children, even the adults, have been traumatized. And so we must be very intentional about this work and consistently doing it, not just saying, well, again, we need to hire someone, and they're doing it, and then no one monitors. Everyone is going to be held accountable for educating children, and anyone who's engaging with our scouters need to be held accountable. And that's at that school board level, holding the superintendent responsible, accountable, and a superintendent holding his or her staff accountable, and the board members being made aware of what's going on. They should not know what's happening. Your data is going to tell you. Literacy, all the discipline issues, all of that. Your data will tell you. Just make sure you are not warming the seat as a school board member, and that you are doing this, that you are truly understanding what governing really means. And it is not running the day-to-day. It is ensuring that it is run properly with a system that we know was never designed to educate our children. So I'll leave on that one.
Drop the mic. All right. Ms. Hamilton, your turn.
So I agree with everything Ms. Wright said, Deborah said. That's part of one of the, again, things that I ran on my platform. One of the issues that I said was I want trauma-informed care for everyone that touches a child, from the, person who's serving them their food to the person who's driving the bus. Everybody who comes in contact with any of our children need to have trauma-informed training and education so they can know how to interact with our students. One of the most recent incidents that occurred was George Floyd's, Derek Chauvin's sentencing and his trial. During that time, my emotion was just everywhere, and I know a lot of Black people, Black and brown individuals especially, our emotions were just out of control. And so one of the first things I did was contact the superintendent and said, how are we as a board, actually I contacted the board itself, and then I contacted the superintendent as well. I said, what do we do in these types of incidents? Our Black children, we have the largest population of Black children in our county coming to our district. We're in turmoil right now. So I would like to see us, or what do you do in these instances? How do you show support, for them? I said, and are we offering trauma-informed care? Do we have, therapists or counselors, or anyone who's available? Now, clearly we're all on, Zoom, mostly at this time. But even still, I said, let's just offer it to them so they can know that, hey, look, my school sees me, because that's very helpful in trauma-informed care. But yes, I am on that point too. That's another big one for me,
I can't thank you both enough. I will make sure that I have your email address. Is that okay to give to Woody?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So that he can reach out to you. You have both been full of information as usual. I'd like to stay in touch with you, Ms. Hamilton. I'm going to find your Facebook page so that we can talk.
Yes.
I no longer sit on a board, so I am not as careful. I mean, I was speaking my mind at the time, but I knew how to navigate, And so I just want to thank you and congratulations to you on two beautiful positions and a job well done in getting where you are. I wish you all the best in everything that you do. And I also wish you all the best with your delightful children. I do.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. And Deborah, I will see you. I think I want to see you sometime in August. We'll work it out. All right.
Yes.
All right. See you later. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That was our diversity, equity, and inclusion livelihood segment that happens every Thursday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I know some people may wonder why we do this, but I think the more we have these conversations so that people understand what is actually happening in schools, and we don't just automatically think, well, these children don't know how to behave, or their parents live in apartments and they have single parents. Being a single parent is not a disease. Let me say that again. Being a single parent, either a single father or a single mother, is not a disease. I've had way too many conversations, even with educators who said to me, when they were married, they were treated differently than when they were divorced, and they all of a sudden they had the single parents disease. I need you all to stop putting labels on people, right? The children need to be supported no matter what. And if they live in an apartment, that's not an issue either, right? They're not living outside on the street somewhere. And even if they were homeless and transplanted, they still deserve to be treated with decency and given the best education that you can possibly give them. It is not our role as educators to determine whether a child can learn based on the fact that their parents are single, whether they live in an apartment, and on and on and on. We've got to stop allowing those labels to determine what we do and don't do for children. I just got a text from someone that said, oh my goodness, why would they change the name of Barrett Junior High School? Barrett is where I became one of the best track and field athletes, played on the softball team, toured all over during African dance, and learned Swahili, participated in writing contests and essays, and learned from and learned home economics, metal shop, and wood shop. I definitely want the name changed back. So if you heard Woody talking about Barrett Junior High School and that they changed the name and you want to support this, this is how I'm talking about, you know, we can create a difference versus just kind of talking and nothing being done about it, right? So we have a few minutes before we get to the 3 o'clock break. Prince, you can call back in because I can talk to you. I have some time, guys. So 215-634-8065. And I am going to do this each time I am on the air. The tip line for Philadelphia Police, if you see crime and you'd like to report it, is 215-686-8477. I'm going to keep saying that until that becomes rote for me, like the call-in number. Let me see what else is going on here. As global COVID-19 deaths top 4 million, a suicide in Peru. Again, written by the Associated Press. Franklin Berseno, Mario Chen, and Joshua Goodman. This was written an hour ago. Arequipa, Peru. On the last day of Xavier Vilca's life, his wife stood outside a hospital window with a teddy bear, red balloons, and a box of chocolates to celebrate his birthday, and held up a giant hand-scrawled sign that read, "Don't give up. You are the best man in the world." Minutes later, Vilca, a 43-year-old struggling radio journalist who had battled depression, jumped 4 stories to his death, the 5th suicide by a COVID-19 patient at Peru's overwhelmed Honoria Delgado Hospital since the pandemic began. Vilca became yet another symbol of the despair caused by the coronavirus and the stark and seemingly growing inequities exposed by COVID-19 on its way to a worldwide death toll of 4 million, a milestone recorded Wednesday by Johns Hopkins University. At the hospital where Vilca died on June 24th, a single doctor and 3 nurses were frantically rushing to treat 80 patients in an overcrowded makeshift ward while Vilca gasped for breath because of an acute shortage of bottled oxygen. "He promised me he would make it," said his wife, weeping over her husband's casket in their half-built home with no electricity on the outskirts of Arequipa, Peru's second-largest city, "but I never saw him again." The number of lives lost around the world over the past year and a half is about as equal to the population of Los Angeles or the nation of Georgia. It is 3 times the number of victims killed in traffic accidents around the globe per year. By some estimates, it is roughly the number of people killed in battle in all of the world wars since 1982. Even then, the toll is widely believed to be an undercount because of overlooked cases or concealment. More than 6 months after vaccines became available, reported COVID-19 deaths worldwide have dropped to around 7,800 a day, after topping out at over 18,000 a day in January. My God, that's a lot of people. The World Health Organization recorded just under 54,000 deaths last week, the lowest weekly total since last October. While the vaccination campaigns in the United States and parts of Europe are ushering in a period of post-lockdown euphoria and children are being inoculated so that they can go back to summer camp and school, infection rates are still stubbornly high in parts of South America and Southeast Asia, and multitudes in Africa remain unprotected because of severe vaccine shortages. I'm going to stop right here and say this to you. When you visit these countries and they tell you that you have to still take your temperature, have your temperature checked when you go into restaurants, and you still have to clean your hands, and you still have to wear your mask, this is why. In the United States of America, where you're accustomed to so many people being vaccinated and being able to move freely, this is not happening in so many of these countries. And so while you want to go and enjoy yourself and have a raging good time, you need to understand that you will leave people there sick and dying. 80 people in a hospital with 1 doctor and 2 nurses. It would be unheard of in the United States of America. Also, the highly contagious Delta variant is spreading rapidly, setting off alarms, driving up case counts in places, and turning the crisis increasingly into a race between the vaccines and the mutant version. The variant has been detected in at least 96 countries. Australia, Israel, Malaysia, Hong Kong, and other places have reimposed restrictions to try to suppress it. So y'all getting real comfortable. Don't get too comfortable, because this is about, I'm sure some restrictions are going to come again. On Thursdays, fans were banned from the upcoming Tokyo Olympics after Japan declared a state of emergency to slow their rise in infections. Spectators from abroad were prohibited months ago, but the new measures will apply to all fans. The games open on July 23rd. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Hey WURD family, did you hear? It's official. The Colorectal Cancer Alliance just announced the new age for colon cancer screenings has been officially lowered to age 45 for everyone. If you are 45 or older, it's time to get screened. Go to WURDradio.com and click on the Go to Know banner to register for your free at-home screening test. Did you know colon cancer is largely preventable with on-time screening? And there's a 90% survival rate when caught early. African Americans are 20% more likely to get colon cancer and about 40% more likely to die from it than most other groups. So for the next 3 months, you can go to WURDradio.com and click on the Go to Know banner for your free at-home screening test. A screening navigator will contact you to ask a few questions and help you get screened. It's that simple. Again, just go to WURDradio.com, click on the Go to Know banner, and fill out the form to request your free at-home screening test. Go to Know today.
This is WURD Radio.
96.1 FM.
And 900 AM WURD Philadelphia.
Black Talk Media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. Before I take Prince, I want to finish this article because the very thing I said is in the very next paragraph. It says, the variants, uneven access to vaccines, and the relaxation of precautions in some wealthier countries are a toxic combination that is very dangerous, warned Anne Lindstrand, a top immunization official at the World Health Organization. Instead of treating the crisis as a me and myself and my country problem, she said, we need to get serious that this is a worldwide problem that needs worldwide solutions. While the United States missed President Joe Biden's goal of getting at least one shot in 70% of American adults by the 4th of July, deaths nationwide are down sharply to around 225 per day from a peak of over 3,400 per day in January. And the United States economy has been roaring back, with growth this year forecast to be the fastest in almost 7 decades. Even cruise ship, I saw that, an early vector for the virus's spread, are resuming voyages after a hiatus of more than a year. In Britain, despite persistent fears about the Delta variant, Prime Minister Boris Johnson plans to lift all remaining restrictions this month. Britain this week recorded a one-day total of more than 30,000 new infections for the first time since January. So people are out, the infections are going up. Elsewhere in Europe, tens of thousands of soccer fans in several cities were able to watch in person their national teams compete in the European Championship a year after the tournament was postponed, though attendance in some stadiums were severely restricted. So just think about this. You're getting your vaccines in the United States. You're going to Europe, you're going to Asia, you're going all over the place, you're blah, 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 blah. And so you think that in America things are going to shift and change for you, and nothing is changing because you're bringing it all back here. Right? And so this is a worldwide thing. It's not something that you can just, it's airborne. That's the other thing, you know, it's airborne. So you have to be incredibly careful, and I don't think we're taking it seriously. In parts of the developing world, it is a story of desperation. In Latin America, just 1 in 10 people have been fully vaccinated. Hear what I tell you? Contributing to a rise in cases in countries such as Colombia, Brazil, Bolivia, and Uruguay. Meanwhile, the virus is penetrating parts of Africa that were previously spared, contributing to a sharp rising cases. Peru has been one of the hardest hit by the virus, with the highest mortality of any country in the world as a percentage of its population. Vilca's suicide was splashed across the front pages of the tabloids in the city of 1 million. His city said his death was a protest against the deteriorating conditions faced by COVID-19 patients. Father. All right, I'm going to stop reading here. But just remember, as I'm telling you these things, that as you travel, to be very mindful. Stop holding on and expecting that because you are vaccinated, you can just travel all over the world and not take those precautions. You're just bringing the variants and spreading it all over the place with you. Continue to wash your hands for 20 seconds or more. Continue to wear your masks in overcrowded places like airports and airplanes. And continue to follow the protocols in the countries that you visit, or stay your tails home. Prince, how you doing, sir?
They've already opened up too many places too fast.
Child, I don't think they're ready. You wait, hold on. October, November, December. They're not ready.
Right. It's just too fast. I mean,
yep.
It was pressure. The economy needs to be open, and they want to go to the baseball games and football games, and it's the haves against the have-nots,
Yeah, and the mouths wide open and in small spaces in restaurants. If I go to a restaurant in Philadelphia, I said, can I sit outside, please? No, I'm not sitting in there with y'all with the mouths flying wide open and very little space. Not doing it. Yeah. What's going on, sir?
You covered. So there's three things I want to just run past you. And so you need your pen and pencil. You ready?
I always have a pen when you call.
Remember we talked about Park Place condos, right?
Yes.
And in our conversation about that, we talked about how 1 every 4 person in there, is in default. So that's about 40% of the place. But and somebody texts you and say that's an internal issue and it shouldn't be broadcast. Well, the ones who own the condos in there are paying condo fees for two things, Andrea. Number one, they're unable to use the balconies because the condo association is strapped and can't come up with the $4.3 million to finish their repairs on the balcony. So the question is, if I'm paying my condo fees, why is somebody else using their balcony who's probably in default of paying their condo fees? And number two, the pool has deteriorated the under slab because of what happened in California. Everybody's checking their building structure now.
Right.
And the pool has deteriorated where you see the rebar, and so it's falling and leaking in the garage. And so now everything's an issue when it comes to these high-rises. And the question is that why don't the condo association offer an opportunity to do a buyout for people who are paying their bills and who have ownership of a condo there, opposed to trying to force us to keep quiet and continue to live in a deteriorating situation.
Right. Is there any way for you to get support from city officials about this? Who owns these?
Well, so here's my question to you. Can you ask one of your co-hosts, Nick Calafarro, since he lives there, to come and speak towards this?
Okay.
Can you interview him?
Is this Park Place downtown off the Parkway?
No, this is Park Place on Conshohocken Road. Off of
Conshohocken Road. Okay, I know exactly where that is. Okay.
So he should be willing to speak. I'm not pointing him out and saying I'm pointing him out because as an unapologetically representative of this station who represent African Americans, why come the good ones got to pay for the poor people, not the poor paying people inside of this condo association who can sit on a balcony because it was one of the first in a phase that was done? You see the dilemma it's putting me in?
Yes,
I'm paying for somebody else to use their stuff, and my stuff is not fixed up.
Yeah, I got it. So who owns this? I mean, who is in charge of the condo fees?
There's a condo association. I don't want to throw their names out. I'll forward you the information and all that stuff like that. You know, I still want the level of respect, but I'm just saying you keep asking us to pay, the taxes on something that we can't utilize or is not in good shape to be utilized. The fact is that they need to raise $1.3 million up. They got $1.2 million in the bank. But they haven't shown the ability to do that, to raise that money. And so in order for a bank to negotiate with them and to trust they would have to raise the condo fees, and the bank has already said because your default rate was not lending you no money.
Oh, got you.
So it's not one of those keep it inside, it's private. No, not when you're taking people money and they're not getting the services for what they're paying for.
I got it. Okay, all right.
So now my second one is, are you familiar with a storage company called Storage Space?
Yes.
Right. So can you reach out to the general manager, because somehow they're in black neighborhoods or urban neighborhoods or poor neighborhoods where there's no representation. So if you were to call the general manager, the number goes back to the store or the facility. Well, here's a question. By law, each one of those storage facilities have to be insured. They have to be self-insured, right? Why are you passing that cost off to the lowest and poorest neighborhood that you are in based on the demographics?
Okay, I got it.
And why are you charging them late fees on the 6th and the 15th of a month? That's illegal. So when people want to run for office and politicians want to help us in this community and in this city, they need to speak about issues that are doing more damage to us than they are helping us. Only reason why you have storage wars is because they know that people are going to default on these storage bins because they are already poor in nature.
Right.
And so my last point, are you ready for this?
Oh, Lord. You already gave me enough stuff to do. Go ahead.
Because my man calls, and he always calls people deaf hustlers. And so people don't really get the example of what a deaf hustler is.
Right.
So I'm about to lay it out for you.
Okay.
So there's a person who can campaign for another office who doesn't have to leave his job. So either a state rep or a state senator can do that. Anybody else got to quit their job and then campaign. So a state rep, Malcolm Kenyatta, can campaign for lieutenant governor and not have to leave his state rep seat, still collect a paycheck, right? State Senator Sharif Streets can campaign for another job, not have to leave his job and still get a paycheck, right? You with me so far, right?
Yes.
Okay, so now, I want you to look at this. 45 children, roughly around there, have been shot in the city of Philadelphia, correct? Somewhere around there, right? At least a high number, right? I get a state senator who comes on with all the cameras and the press to talk about the 45th shooting and death of his cousin, of his wife's cousin, right? So my question to the state senator is, where was you at when the other 40 deaths of children died? Okay, so when you get him on your show, ask him that. But here's another thing. If it was your wife's cousin, why your wife not at the podium with you and you embracing her? Wasn't your cousin? Okay, well, let's ask this. Where were all those politicians that you was with when you was at Borden Olney with the mayor and the rest of them standing there to combat violence in the city? Why wasn't they there with you? So the politician tears, you know what I mean, might be acceptable to people who don't know, but at the end of the day, you can see the design for a campaign out of this person, not for the mere fact. And now what you going to do? Get mad at me? What you going to do? You get mad at me and George all you want to. There's not 2 or 3 people that you're going to send our way that won't have a problem at the end of the day. So we ain't even going to get into that. We're going to say when you want an identification of deaf hustlers in our neighborhood, he should have showed up when the other 40 people had died. Not when it hits home when your cousin died or your wife's cousin died. So it's just kind of pathetic empathy that the politicians and pastors and people have when it comes to serving us, whereas we can't get things done. We're getting evicted or we're getting strong-armed by folks that are doing their job in the city because no one has helped us stabilize ourselves, but yet you let this city develop way beyond our expectations. We still don't have 15-hour, and we still don't have $15 an hour jobs. We still aren't able to go in none of these fast food restaurants because they lack the employees to do the job because you're only paying them $7.25 an hour while your store is showing to make
$15,000 a year when it takes $19,000 to live a basic life.
Your store is showing that it makes $1 million at Borden Oxford. Your McDonald's makes $1 million on Temple campus, and you only paying $7.25 an hour. Stop asking us to participate in this nonsense. And like I try to tell other people, you know, they sell at the gun show, they sell something called a drum. You know what a drum is, Andrea?
No.
A drum is a piece that holds 112 bullets, which are rounds, ammunition. And so when you hear people say, well, we got to get harder on crime, the cops got to, that's not what you do in the city when you got 6,500 cops and you got 400,000 people. You don't go get hard and start. Do you realize the cops by law can only carry 16 rounds by law? So now they going hard shooting at somebody who got 100 rounds inside of a drum that they legally sell for $44. There was 100 rounds shot, or 80 to 100 rounds shot on an open street corner. So stop selling us out and come and help us out, if that makes sense. I'm just saying, that might be my soapbox.
Lord Jesus. I can't with you, Prince.
Hey, thank you for taking my call.
You're quite welcome, because now I think I have George right behind you. God bless America. But thank you, sir. I have homework to do.
Let's go.
All right.
Bye.
Take it easy. Bye-bye. George?
How you doing today, Andrea?
I'm
good.
What's
You're
going
doing
on?
wonderful. You're doing wonderful. The good thing is, all the senior complexes and all the galleries, all these spaces where people be can't wait till you come on. You know why? Not only do they get a good, uplift of knowing that people are fighting for them, it's just the idea that they finally have somebody that don't have they wearing that orange lipstick, purple knee pads.
All right, now, George,
God knows
stop
what
it.
colors they elbows.
Stop it, George. Cut it out.
Well, I mean, listen, what good it does kissing up? And my point is always proven. The more you kiss up, the less you get.
Yeah.
You know, the people who are fighting, that old lady that you see at a meeting or something that's fighting, they give her everything. You know why? Because she at their neck. I mean, these elected officials sitting home drinking their Henny and their cognac and just sitting back, got a little one of them things, one of them little joints and hitting on it and laughing. They just getting a real good laugh out of them kissing up. So all you kiss ups, that's what they do. And listen, it ain't me, it's them. As soon as you see it and know it, then you'll stop. You'll start making them do their job, get what they pay for. Andrea, I was on Michael Court earlier, and Michael Court know the same lawyers. First of all, let me say this here: that resurrection, whatever you want to call it, with these white supremacists coming in, they knew that foolishness 2 to 3 weeks before all this was planned. Okay, they raped all of them. They was at the Hilton down there on Essington Avenue. Okay. The ones who caught the buses, they came in here days before. They was at the Hilton, and the other ones flew in here. So it ain't like
how did they know? Was there a permit?
No. What do you need a permit for? You just get together and just ride on, and the police escort you. The police didn't want no things to escalate out of hand, which it was about to. As soon as they seen a bunch of guys pulling up, black, white, from Philly, people in Philadelphia are tired of their city getting tore up by people that are not police. So a lot of lawyers start calling their clients that usually put in their work and say, listen, let's cancel that bill, but I need you to get you and your boys to go down there on such and such and such. They about to tear our city up, these white boys. Really? That's what was it? And all them cops down there, and I take my hat off to the Philadelphia Police Department for that they tell me y'all about to have some real trouble, And when Action News said that those guys actually start taking off, getting out of there, that's what they did. They're cowards. As long as you sit back and cower down and don't act like you're going to do anything, they take full advantage of it. They're a bunch of faggots, punks. You call it what you want. But that's what happened. I was down there at Center City when those fools came past that part. I know what it was.
So, George.
And Michael Court knows, too. Matter of fact, I think somebody sent him a video of what was going on. As soon as them young black kids start pulling up in them cars, you start seeing them crowds dispersing. Police was laughing about it. They didn't have to do nothing. But if you want to know something, ask the police commissioner. She knew about it. She knew. Ask her. Just get on your show. She'll play dumb with you for a minute, Andrea, but her anger will let loose real quick. Yeah, I knew about it. Yeah, so such. Or she'll outright kindly, softly lie to you that she didn't know. How could you not know and your police department know? They know what they want to know and what they need to know. So you know, that foolishness they talking. Let me say this here too, Andrea. And I said it earlier, is that some lawyers asked me to come to their office, right? I went to their office, and they had the guys that run that Russian stuff and run the Asian stuff, all them guns and everything. And I know them. I mean, I knew as soon as I seen them. I asked them, who was this place? They going to, you know, talk with you and meet with you. And I thought it was a more better legal place than me here. I said, okay, what it was about. Their question was, what problem do you have with us? I said, well, I'm concerned I don't have no problem with you. What do you mean? They said, well, all our places, you're the only one that's really hollering and screaming and bitching about these gun houses and all that there. They say every neighborhood they in, the people not complaining. Matter of fact, they invited, which is true. Everywhere there's a gun house, you ever even heard of any of these boots on the ground or whatever they want to call themselves, bootstraps up, or you ever heard of them protesting or going in the neighborhood saying we want these gun houses closed or we want that? Have you, as long as you've been on there, have you ever heard them doing one of them?
No, I never heard anyone talk about these gun houses because we kept asking where are these guns coming from. Yeah.
Right. They know. Okay. And then the next thing they say is the police don't have a problem with it. The federal agency don't have a thing with it. Josh Shapiro busted about 25 of them. Then all of a sudden, it's like he's banished off the face of the earth. He don't go near him. And they said this, and the lawyer was right there telling me, so it's like you're the only one that's being about it. What is the problem? What can we do to resolve our problem? I said, well, it's basically in black neighborhoods. They say, okay, would you feel better if we put black people in there to sell them? Because they're going to sell. I mean, if that's your only problem, we'll change it around. I mean, what could I say, Andrea? Every question they shot at me was legit. I don't see the community they love it. They got all them cameras. Their neighborhood is clean. And you go up there in the Northwest, the only ones got more gun houses is Southwest Philly. They got more gun houses than the Northwest. And the Northwest is where those elitist Negroes live with all the nice, clean lawns and everything. And if you go to one of those gun houses with the big, beautiful windows, hedges, beautiful, the whole block is beautiful. And you'd be like, there's someone guns up here? I say, yeah, right over there. You go in there, they got more guns in them places than they got in Commissima. And Commissima is closed. So all the stuff about making gun laws and all that there changes, that ain't it. People ain't going to no gun store, gun shows to buy nothing.
We kind of figured they weren't going to the gun shows, but now that I know that they're gun houses. Okay, let me ask you this. I reached out to Bobby Heenan's office. Someone answered the phone, and they never got back to me. I just want to let you know.
They'll get back to you. They'll get back to you. Okay. That's something that he wants to do it. So,
okay. You know. All right.
But
okay. So let me ask you this: How do we find out where these gun houses are?
Ask your representatives. They know. Ask the police.
Now
Everybody
you know
where
diggity dang well they're not gonna tell us where the gun houses are,
well,
George.
Listen, I'm not getting into it with no community because apparently the community ain't saying nothing. As soon as you come walking through their neighborhood, they say, "Look, we all right with it."
Really?
They told me where to go, which I already knew. And up there in Mount Airy, they got some of the nicest houses. One lady told me, she said 2 years ago, this place was run down. She said now, since that day, they don't be hanging on the corner. Nobody be coming up here, driving up here, playing music loud and all that there, double parking. She said, it's clean. She said, that's the best thing I have. Everybody got rings. If you go in and you want to find out where a gun neighborhood is, where they sell a gun house, everybody got a ring on that ring bell on their door, on their room. Everybody. So, I mean, if the community's not complaining, who am I? If they tell me mind my business.
Okay.
They don't have a problem.
All right. Well, George,
ask your friend police tonight, Andrea. Ask them where the gun houses at. Do they have any shootings or homicides? Anything? You know what they're going to tell you? Nope.
Yeah.
They don't even have to patrol the area.
Okay. You're right. Okay.
Now you can let your lackeys call up and say, "Oh, well, No, ask them one question. Have you ever marched on a gun house, or have you ever went to one of them and told them y'all got to close this?
Okay.
They ain't built like that, Andrea. Ain't nothing like that.
All right. Thank you, George, honey. Always a pleasure talking to you, okay? All right. Lord. I feel like Prince and George, one behind the other. I need some tea. You are listening to The Source. I have 2 more callers on the line. I know that you're there. I will get you when I come off the break, okay? 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Get in and get seen at the Einstein Orthopedics Fracture Care Clinic. If you think you've broken a bone or have been told by your doctor that you have a fracture, the Einstein Fracture Care Clinic offers same-day, in-person, or telehealth appointments. We don't just give you peace of mind. Einstein Orthopedics provides answers when you need them. Visit einstein.edu/fracturecare to learn more.
Want the latest in Word swag?
Check out the shop tab on WURDradio.com. Hoodies, tees, and more in a variety of colors. The shop tab on WURDradio.com. Show the world that you're all about black.
Talk Media.
The WURD Radio newsletter.
Keeping you informed, engaged, and connected.
Sign up by visiting WURDradio.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page and type your email address under Connect with Us. You'll receive the latest information on WURD Radio. Messages from our president and CEO, Sarah Lomax Reese. Exclusive articles and multimedia content and resources.
Stay informed
with the WURD Radio newsletter.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. Michael, Lola says that she's trying to call and the line is busy. I only see 2 callers here, so I'm not sure. Call back, Lola, and see if you can get through. Brother X from Chicago, how are you?
You got any neighbor?
How are you?
I'm slow, but I'm sure. Thank you for taking my call. I admire your knowledge and your courage.
You're welcome.
I want to tell Brother Tyrone my feelings and compassion goes out to him.
Yes.
I lost a brother to senseless self-hatred, violence, myself, and it hurts me every day. Aren't you from Haiti?
I am not. I'm from Jamaica.
Okay. Now, we got an assassination went on in Haiti.
Yeah, I talked about
Haiti. Okay.
I can talk about
I want to
it.
share something with the audience they might not know. Mr. Napoleon said, my decision to destroy the blacks in St. Dominique, what we now call Haiti, Mr. Napoleon said, my decision to destroy them is not so much based on commerce and money. He said, my decision to destroy them is to block forever the march of the blacks in the world. It makes you wonder, what was those black people doing on an island that Mr. Napoleon said he must destroy them? Now, for the people who take the vaccine shot, that's good and fine. I ain't got no problem with it. But look what Billy Bob does. He get all these people take these shots. Now, what do he come back with? Oh, Lordy, Lordy, good God Almighty. Oh, we got another strain here. Oh, Lordy, Lordy, Lord. Look what he's doing to you. Look how he got us jumping. What you going to do now? Go take another shot? Look what the psychopath is doing to us. Now, I heard you had a rally of the psychopaths up in Philly. Where is all of the leadership coming out together against this? Having news conference saying this is not who we are. We are not going to put up with this. Where them so-called Jews, the blacks, where they at? Silence is deafening. That's how this stuff keep growing and going. When people are silent, even Even if you speak up, you still gonna have to fight one day.
Right.
But leadership in Philly, they cannot be quiet with what these psychopaths just done. Andrea, you're a smart young lady.
Yes,
our time here is up. The white supremacist power structure that runs Earth and space, they have said our time is up. So what they are doing now, they are sitting the table for us to be exterminated. That's why they put in Donna Hitler. If they wanted Donna Hitler to win again, they would have put him in. They put in Mickey Mouse, Deaf in the Duck. What makes some slaves think they picking some president?
Yeah,
That being
Brother X,
silly.
I hear you. I hear you, Brother X.
Yes,
I got to take 2 more calls because I have another guest coming on, but I want to thank you for taking the time to call me
ma'am.
all
Thank
the way
you.
from Chicago. Keep listening, okay? All right, bye-bye. Clyde from South Philadelphia, are you there?
Hey, Andrea, how you doing?
Peace. Clyde, by the time I get off the air, I'm tired.
That's all right. Well, you try and get some rest. There's one thing you can't catch up on is time and rest, sister.
Will, what's up, my brother?
I just got a problem. Last year I lost 4 nephews, and in the last 2 years we lost almost 800 people. You know, through gun violence and murder. My thing is, you offering $155 million, and all these people from the clergy is not coming out the woodwork. Where the hell was you people 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Where were you people 2 years ago? You know, is it going to take money for you to save our babies right now?
Yeah.
This, I mean, Andrea, this is sickness. This is sickness. So it takes dollars for you to go out here and try to save our babies. This is, I mean, I've never seen nothing like this in my life, and you know,
it's like piranhas. It's like piranhas finding chum in the water. Yeah,
I mean, you know, I listen to George and Prince, and it's like I got to come to an agreement with this. It's like, oh my God, these people have came out the woodwork like I have never seen in my life. But you know, people are the cause, and your first duty is to save lives. Period.
Right. Right.
Not the dollar.
Whether the money or not. Right.
Not the
Right.
dollar. Last week, I seen the streets that are screaming and hollering. Like, where was you at 2 years ago? Where was y'all at 2 years ago? That's just my question. Where y'all been at? Oh, it takes money
and Clyde, let me say this, Clyde, and where were they in trying to work with the police department in their respective churches, where the communities were, to say we can support you? You know, it's very telling, but. And then you wonder, where is the money going? Because if you weren't doing it before the money came, what is the money going to do to change anything? That's the kind of stuff that makes me go, it skeeves me. And y'all pray for me, because I'm telling you, I've done run afoul of more than a few pastors. So I stay out of their way and just let it go. Honestly, because I can't. The hypocrisy is stunning to me, so I just leave it alone. You know what I mean?
It's the biggest game I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
It's a big, gigantic episode of The Wire.
Yeah, you better come on with it, Clyde. All right, Clyde.
Listen, Andrea, real quick. If you don't believe me, there was an episode of The Wire called Amsterdam, where they pushed everybody in one section. Look at Kensington right now.
Yes.
Then you want to open safe injection sites? Come on, Andrea. It's like art imitates life right now.
Yep. And I drove through Kensington on, where was I? I had breakfast with Lorraine Ballard-Morrill on Monday. And she said to me, have you ever driven through Kensington? I said, no. She said, when you leave here, before you go home, I literally stopped my car and said, holy hell. It was like I was in a whole nother planet. I could not believe what I was seeing.
Andre, it is disheartening to see that. And I mean, I drove past it several times, and it's like a zombie apocalypse down there.
It is. It really is. It absolutely is. And when Lorraine and I were talking, she said it's like they contain them in certain blocks. you know, in the city, and they keep them there. And it's just, I don't know what's going on. You know, Clyde, I got to take this other call, but thank you so much, my brother.
Thank you.
I appreciate your calling me, okay? All right. All right. Oh, my God. Did this just happen? Wait a minute. Eric Hughes, evening assignment editor at 6ABC. He passed away. He was also an advocate making sure that the black community was not ignored in news coverage. The Sun sends their condolences and prayers to the Hughes family. Dag. Ugh, Lord, people are dying out here. Lola from Jenkintown, how are you, my sister?
I'm good. I'm good, Mother. How are you? Thank you for taking my call.
Oh, listen, I needed a female voice on here. The men.
Yes. Well, I've been working, so like I work remotely, and I have a pretty heavy job, so I be trying to call in, and then sometimes it gets really busy. I was like, I got to speak to her before we won't see her, hear from her until next week. So I'm glad I was able to get in.
Yes, ma'am. What's going on, sis?
Okay, so I wanted to call. Everybody's touched on everything, and I just wanted to just touch on a couple of things real quick. I wanted to really talk about the critical race theory thing that's going on. Now, back in the times when we were enslaved and the KKK was running wild, they didn't have a problem with lynching, raping, and doing all kinds of heinous things to black people in public. They took pictures of it. We have historical pictures. If anybody has been down to the Baltimore African American Museum, if you've been to the one
Lola down in the basement. I
go there every year. We couldn't go last year because of COVID. Yes, and then the one that Brian Stevenson has run. And he has one. We went to that. They have historical pictures showing people at picnics, laughing, drinking Kool-Aid, drinking lemonade, whatever they were doing, lynching and hanging our people. But now they don't want this to be taught. They don't want this to be shown. When you were out there, pictures 300 years ago, 400, whatever years ago, when they burned Tulsa down, the pictures of them walking through the cities and stuff with the guns and the rapes and stuff, and now they're saying that this might harm their children. When our children have been harmed for over 400 years, our generations have seen this and witnessed this, and now because the truth is here. And now that we went through school hearing about all these presidents were so great. He chopped down the cherry tree. He did this. He did that. This man, which one of them? George Washington stole the teeth of the slaves and put them in his mouth. Come on now. And now because the truth is here, and they don't want their kids to see it, it's called critical race theory, and it's going to harm their children. This is absolutely insane. And we have to, if our kids are going to populate these schools, we have to be there, and we have to, get out there. I just can't take our race being so passive, sitting back and letting these things happen. I understand about working. I understand about having children. I know about it all. But there are things now that we can do. Maybe if you can't go in the morning, you go in the night, or do something. Because when we're not present, they pass these laws under the ilk of the night, just like those people walking through City Hall with hoods on their faces and not being seen. This is a disgrace. And now they want to ban the Ruby Bridges book of what happened to a 6-year-old being spat at, yelled, called all kinds of horrible names. This is documented. This is shown. These are films and pictures showing this historical stuff happening, and now they don't want to talk to the kids because their kids are going to feel bad when they come out. This is absolutely insane, Andrea. Now, not only are they not teaching our kids, now they want to take everything that shows our history away from our children. This is we have to. I'm telling you, black people, we got to put our foot on the ground, boots on the ground everywhere. If you can't be somewhere, you get a representative. You get the niece of everybody has somebody in their family who, might not be working, and it's the one that you go to do little things. You get that person, you throw them a 20 and say, you got to go to this meeting and take them notes down. Come on. We can't be sitting here letting this stuff go by and pass, and our children are still going to be populating the schools. Let's be honest. All of our kids are not going to be able to be homeschooled. All of our kids are not going to be able to go to private school. All of our kids are not going to be able to be afforded to live maybe where I live or and have good schools or whatever you're doing for your children. So there's still going to be a lot of black kids in these public schools learning this nonsense. And on that note, I also want to say, where's Dr. Height at with all this money, circulating into Philadelphia. I don't hear him nothing about any of the schools being cleaned out of the asbestos. Now is the time to do it. Not when September comes and they say, oh, we got to close these schools because it's asbestos. Oh, they don't have any air conditioning. It's still going to be hot in September and October and November because we're going through climate change. Where are they, Andrea? Where's the presence of anybody? Where's the urgency of anybody doing anything? We're in July. Why isn't he out here? Why are people on vacation when the schools, the cities are burning up alive in our face? This is the thing. When things are happening bad, you can't take vacations. You have to be, and then when everything is okay or when things kind of calm down, then you go on vacation. You don't go on vacations when the death rate and the murder rate is higher than it was in 2013 and 2016 in Philadelphia. You don't go on vacation when the schools have not been certified that they have been clean of asbestos, that their air conditioning fans or whatever they need, that there's some librarians in there, there's therapists in there. The kids are coming back. They're going to be horribly scarred from being out for a year and a half. Where are the therapists at to speak to them? Some of their friends have been murdered in Philadelphia. Where are the therapists at to speak to them? You think these kids are going to come back and want to play patty cake? They are going to be scarred and upset. But we're not doing anything. We're sitting through the summer like it's a vacation. This is no vacation.
Yep. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lola. Thank you for calling.
Okay,
I got to take
Andrea.
Dr.
Thank you, Mother.
Mparu.
I'll see you next
always
week.
a pleasure. All right, my
Okay.
sister. Thank you. Bye-bye. Lola makes a strong point. Listen, you all. All right. Do me a favor, Michael, and let Dr. Mparu in for me, please. For over a decade, Dr. Mparu has been recognized as the physician and surgeon who practices compassionate, evidence-based medicine. Upon completion of her undergraduate education at Texas Lutheran University, she attended Columbia University, where she graduated with a Master of Science in Human Nutrition. She went on to graduate from Duke University of Medicine, where she won multiple awards, including an Alpha Omega Alpha Honor Medical Society Award. She obtained her orthopedic surgery residency at Boston University Medical Center and Harvard University's Massachusetts General Hospital, winning the England Orthopedic Society First Place Residence Award during her time in residency. Dr. Mparu, good afternoon. How are you?
I am well. Good afternoon. Good to be here.
Oh, my Lord. So there's a couple of things we need to talk about. The Lambda and the Delta variants of COVID-19. And I am looking now and reading these reports of people now talking about hospitals are starting now around the world to shut down some surgeries, et cetera, et cetera. What do you know about these variants, and should we be concerned at this point?
Okay, so at this point, actually, more than 50% of the cases in the U.S., about 51.7, are due to the Delta variant. So that actually has surpassed the original variant in terms of the number of new cases. Right. So the Lambda variant, you're right, is now getting on the radar, but is much less a concern than the Delta variant. Good thing about the Delta variant, couple of things. We are noticing it in unvaccinated people. So there's no significant data that shows that, you know, if you're vaccinated, you're at a higher risk to get the Delta compared to anything else. So still getting vaccinated should be enough protection even with that. So get vaccinated. That has been shown to also help with Delta. And the second important thing to know about the Delta is that it's not shown to be more virulent. So it's not shown to be more deadly or make you more sick. It's shown to be more contagious.
Okay, so it's easier to get it, but it's not more virulent than the original SARS-CoV. Okay, got you. And the Lambda. So, you know, one of the conversations that I've been having over the last couple of weeks, and I just read an article from the Associated Press, is this. We are in the United States where we have access to the vaccine, and 60-point-something% of us have been at least had one dose. In other parts around the world, they're not only not having access to the vaccine, people are so sick that they're 80 to a hospital room, a hospital with one doctor and 2 nurses. And so lots of, you know, and people are continuing to travel. So we're traveling and we're spreading. The governor of California is having a conversation now with all sorts of global warming, all sorts of things. What do we need to do now to keep safe, even if we are vaccinated in this country and traveling?
So I was reading how what's the COVID czar's name? Oh my gosh. What's the COVID czar's name? Who the infectious disease CDC?
Dr. Oh God, I'm looking at his Fauci.
Yes.
Anthony Fauci. Yes.
Thank God. How Dr. Fauci had said that, you know, if he goes into places where there are many people and things like that, he will still mask even though he's vaccinated. And I have actually gone back and forth on that. So, and I was like, does it help if I mask? Obviously, I'm not masking for myself.
Right.
I'm masking for the other person.
Right.
So I myself don't wear a mask in places that don't require that I wear one.
Right.
And because I'm vaccinated and I know that, you know, the chances that I will give something to you are so low, that's why I don't do it. If I felt it would protect people more, I might. But on the flip side, and this may be where Dr. Fauci is coming from, if it's something that all of us are doing, then it's probably easier to enforce.
Right.
So I think that in going back and forth, I would say, you know, if you want to be out and about and you want to encourage other people to wear the mask, then wearing your mask might be a way to help them do that.
Okay.
Definitely, if you're traveling, I mean, you don't have a choice. You know, when you get on a plane or in the airport, don't be that person. If you're on Amtrak or whatever those things are, you know, follow all those regulations. And I think the biggest thing is encourage your unvaccinated friends to get vaccinated. Because with everything we're following, people who are vaccinated have a pretty significant amount of protection. So I would say if there's anything I could do as a vaccinated person is offer it to my patients, offer it to my staff, and you know, talk to my friends about getting it, and then follow all the rules. So if you walk into a building and they say you need your mask, you do. Things like that.
Okay. Hold on one second. I have to take a quick break, and then I have to ask you this question. I was down in Kensington on Monday. I don't know if you heard me talking about it and what I saw. Have you gone down Kensington Avenue yet?
I have.
Okay. My question for you then becomes this. How much more exposed are those drug users to COVID sitting out there? Are they the ones that are vaccinated? Are they not vaccinated? How much more exposure do they have because they're so out there intense? You know, I see them bend over, getting high. I saw one man pushing a needle in his leg. I saw all kinds of, I was traumatized going down those few blocks on Kensington Avenue. So, you know, answer that for me when we come back, please.
Absolutely.
All right?
Absolutely.
You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
Looking for an exciting and well-paying new career opportunity? MCAP is a free manufacturing career accelerator program. In just 7 weeks, learn new career skills, earn industry certifications, and connect to manufacturing companies who are hiring. To see if MCAP is right for you, call 215-770-7101. That's 215-770-7101. MCAP is brought to you by Drexel University's Goodwin College of Professional Studies in partnership with EDSI Incorporated. MCAP is an equal opportunity program. Diverse candidates, including women and people of color, are strongly encouraged to apply.
Tune in Saturdays from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. to hear Empire Capital and Consulting founder Mark Palmer's show titled Black Money, Black Power. This show centers around black money and how black power is derived from money. Tune in every Saturday from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Black Money, Black Power, hosted by Mark Palmer.
Are you looking to hire diverse talent? WURD has got you covered. We just launched a brand new job portal to help connect you with diverse talent in Philadelphia and beyond. If you would like to have your jobs featured on our job portal, give us a call at 215-425-7875 or send us an email at sales@wordradio.com. Check out the job portal today on our livelihood website at wordworks.com. That's WURDworks.com and click jobs.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you're just joining us, this is our final segment. And I have Dr. Anuli Mparu, really super smart lady who has started an orthopedic practice here, and she has been licensed to give Suboxone, right?
Correct.
To patients who are who have been abusing drugs because they've been addicted to the painkillers that they've been taking. And so I just asked her, are these folks that I am seeing on Kensington Avenue, are they more susceptible to getting COVID because of how they're out there, you know, putting the needles in all sorts of things. I saw everything that you could possibly imagine out there. Are they more susceptible, Dr. Amparo?
The simple answer is yes. And in fact, physicians, nurses, people who work in hospitals, and people who work in places like homeless shelters and work with IV drug abusers, we actually were mandated to take the tuberculosis shots, where in the US, people don't do that. So that population has been very well known to be at risk for even infectious diseases that are not so prevalent in the community. Many reasons why. One, as you can imagine, their health status is not great. Right. So a lot of them are already immunocompromised. And you know that when we're immunocompromised, we are more likely to be sick. Right. Viruses are quite happy to come in and infect people. And then the second aspect is that they often aren't able to make good choices. So they are less likely to decide to go get vaccinated. Right. So that population, I mean, in fact, when I was looking at places and we came through Kensington to this location on East Allegheny, I almost said absolutely not. Right. And then, because I had never seen that before, like driving through and seeing people using drugs actively in broad daylight. And then I kept hearing something say, Anuli, but this is why you are here. This is why you are here. So it is jarring to see. It's very sad. We are close enough that we're happy to see them, and want to help them get better. We put people in contact with therapists and counselors. In future, we would be doing counseling here because we have 3 stories, and that's the plan for the space. But yes, they are definitely very prone. And I had a discussion with someone once who contemplated enforcing vaccinating them and essentially having like a court order that allowed us to do so. And we're not there yet, but sometimes if people make a case that a person doesn't have capacity to make the right decision for themselves, sometimes the courts or the government step in. Right. Oh my God. All right. Well, I want to thank you because I know you, you take the time out to call in each week. Next week, hopefully, when we talk, we'll hear more about the Lambda variant because that's, something that's been going on in our country and several countries now. Right. Something countries. So right. Started in Peru. Yes. Yeah. Started in Peru last year. Yes. So I read all of that to them earlier today. But I want to thank you, and I'll see you next week. You have a good one. Okay. I will. You do the same. Stay safe, everyone. I will. We will. Bye-bye, Dr. Amparo. All right. Let me hold on. Michael, hold on. Paul from Northeast, line 2. You're the last person. I have 3 minutes before I have to get off the air, sir. How are you? Paul? Going once. Paul? Going twice. Paul? Sold. All right. That's it. Okay, no Paul. I don't know what happened to him. All right, I tried. Let me see here. Jesus. This just in. California Governor Gavin Newsom on Thursday also expanded his regional drought state of emergency to apply to 50 California counties, or roughly 42% of the state population. This also just in. 2 Haitian Americans detained in the slaying of the Haitian president. The Associated Press, 2 men believed to be Haitian Americans, one of them purportedly a former bodyguard of the Canadian embassy in Port-au-Prince, have been arrested in connection with the assassination of Haiti's president, a senior Haitian official said today.
Matthias Pierre, Haiti's Minister of Elections, told the Associated Press that James Salages was among 6 people arrested in the 36 hours since the brazen killing of the president by gunmen at his home in the pre-dawn hours on Wednesday. 4 other suspected assailants were killed in a gunfight with police, and 2 are still missing, Pierre said. Earlier, authorities had said 7 suspects were killed. Pierre would not provide additional details about Salages' background, nor would he provide the name of the second Haitian American he said was arrested. Salages described himself as a certified diplomatic agent, an advocate for children, and budding politician on a website for a charity he established in 2019 in South Florida to assist residents. On his bio page for the charity, Salages said he previously worked as a bodyguard at the Canadian Embassy in Haiti. Calls to the foundation and Salages' associates at the charity either did not go through or were not answered. The pursuit of the mercenaries continues, said Leon Charles, director of Haiti's National Police, in announcing the arrest of suspects. Their fate is fixed. They will fall in the fighting or will be arrested. We are coming to the end of our show today. I want to thank you all for participating. Viola, Lynn, Harold, Patricia White, Lucy Lou, Lania Porter, Rashad Bay. I love you all. You are the regulars that call in and write every day. Diane Fassett, Harold Sprittle. Let me see if I'm missing anybody. Just make sure. Eric Marsh made me laugh. But you know, and then over here, Lola and Nico Tim. He says, oh, I love your vacation. That's so true. You're quite welcome. Lord have mercy. Gary Thomas says, I love your show. Malcolm White is over here. So I've got a whole list over here on YouTube watching and a whole list over here on Facebook. I want to say thank you to all of you for continuing to chime in every single week. I have a mad respect for people who are radio show hosts after doing this for over a year now. It takes a lot of, if you're doing it correctly, it takes a lot of research. It takes a lot of stepping outside of yourself and listening to other people and getting their point of view and asking the pointed questions on behalf of the people who are listening every single day. My watch is going up. Oh, I've reached my 10,000 steps. Let me just see if, let me make sure that I get everything. Lord, I just want to make sure that I have everything for you guys. Come on, Tribune, stop playing with me. As employers struggle to fill jobs, teens come to the rescue. Paul Wiseman and Joseph Pisani. Oh my God! Every time I do the Tribune, they're always making me log in, and next long story. So it says here, the owners of restaurants, amusement parks, and retail shops, many of them desperate for workers, are sounding an unusual note of gratitude this summer. Thank goodness for teenagers. As the United States economy bounds back with unexpected speed from the pandemic recession and customer demand intensifies, high school-aged children are filling jobs that older workers can't or won't. The result is that teens who are willing to bus restaurant tables or serve as water park lifeguards are commanding $15 to $17 or more an hour, plus bonuses in some instances, or money to help pay for school classes. The trend marks a shift from the period after the 2007 to 2009 Great Recession, when older workers often took sub-jobs and teens were sometimes squeezed out. The time and acute labor shortage, especially at restaurants, tourism, and entertainment businesses, has made teenage workers highly popular again. We are very thankful they are here, said Akash Kapoor, CEO of Curry Up Now. 50 teenagers are working this summer at his 5 San Francisco area Indian street food restaurants, up from only a dozen last year. We may not be open if they weren't there. We need bodies. The proportion of Americans ages 16 to 19 who are working is higher than it's been in years. In May, 33.2% of them had jobs, the highest such percentage since 2008. Though the figure dipped to 31.9% in June, the Labor Department reported Friday that it is still higher than it was before the pandemic devastated the economy last spring. At the Catavella restaurant, Italian restaurant in Denver, for instance, Harry Hittle, 16, is earning up to $22 an hour, including tips. You better come on. From his job clearing restaurant tables. He's used the windfall to buy gas and insurance for his car and has splurged on a road bike and an electric guitar. So when you pay people well, they're willing to work for you. I'm telling you. There's never been a better time to apply for a job if you're a teen, says Matthew Stevenson, CEO of Snag a Job, an online site for hourly work. Consider the findings of Nita Fogg, Paul Harrington, Ishwa Kaditwa, researchers at Drexel University Center for Labor Markets and Policy, who issue an annual forecast for the teenage summer job market. This year, they predict, will be the best summer for teenage lifeguards, ice cream scoopers, and sales clerks since 2018. 31.5% of 16 to 19-year-olds will have jobs. Teenage employment had been on a long slide, leading many analysts to lament the end of summertime jobs that gave teens work experience and a chance to mingle with colleagues and customers from varying backgrounds. This is good stuff. These businesses now need employees to handle the influx and are scrambling to find enough. The vaccine rollout was just starting in April and May, when employers typically start hiring for the summer. Some of these businesses delayed their hiring decisions, unsure whether or not or when the economy would fully reopen. I want to thank you all for being here as usual. Every single day. Coming up next is Nick Taliaferro on for Evening Words. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I will see you when I see you. Goodbye.